Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 202nd edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me this evening, let's have a look who's on the panel. We have Sebastian, Andy, Dave Loback, Kurt Ward's jumped on with us, Adam Smith, Donny, and also Tommy. Hope I haven't left anybody out there, guys. Right, first of all, a bit of housekeeping to start off with. I know everybody loves all this type of stuff, but it's happening, guys. It's finally happening. BoxingAsylum.com is back up and running in one form or the other. It's being built back up to its former glory at the moment. So you can head on over, I suppose, if you want to see how it's progressing. But the main man is actually Ben Scott, a big boxing fan himself and an avid listener. And he's sorting it out for us at the moment. So if you have any website needs or anything, then Ben and his team over at Blue Buffalo Web Design know exactly what they're doing because they're sorting us out right now. So thanks to Ben, Blue Buffalo Web Design. And hopefully the forum, Tommy, should be back up as well. Are you planning on getting the forum going and back to old times?
Aye, the forum will be back. I want to get the WordPress up first and that in press one with the news section and that. Get some written work done on the website, and the forum will be back very soon. I've still got the V-Bulletin licence and that, so should be back. I'll definitely be back for the Carol Frampton fight in January. Excellent. That's at the latest.
Yep, keep an eye on that then, guys. We'll keep you informed. It is finally coming back. Another point of interest as well, we have another giveaway this week. We have 3 original prints from a London-based artist called John Mayers, who listens to the pod. They're black and white shots from the Calzaghe-Hopkins fight, and they're entitled Got Beat by a White Boy. So John has kindly signed them for us. So if you want to get your hands on one of these, the usual drill, leave a comment, like or share over on the Facebook page below the show when it goes live, and the same on YouTube. So once it goes live, the chat box disappears, the static comments appear on YouTube. Leave a comment, go nuts, call us wankers, do whatever the hell you want, and be in with a chance to win one of 3 of these original prints from John Mayers. There's tons of questions flying in tonight, guys. There's about 40 odd Bellew of the Week nominations. So if I miss anything out, if you don't get your question read out, apologies. That's just the way it is. They've been coming in all day, all weekend. And we're going to drag the pack. We actually did drag the Pacquiao reviews, previews into the middle section of the show a couple of weeks ago, and the reaction was positive. We had hundreds of thousands of tweets coming in saying that was a good idea. So we're going to do the same for Kovalev Ward this week. We're going to bring it into the middle section of the show so it doesn't just get 10 minutes at the end and it doesn't get its due. So that's that. Right, I'm going to have to move on, guys, because I've got the show producer shouting into my ear here, so I'm going to have to move on. She wants me to move on. Right, on to the boxing. Smido's pumped and ready to go. I'm going to go to you first, Smido, so get yourself ready. Over in Monte Carlo, Monaco, Luis Ortiz, great fan, I know that you are. You've seen him live, you've seen him in the flesh. He got a unanimous decision victory over Malik Scott for the vacant WBA Intercontinental Heavyweight title. The title's bullshit as usual. We don't care really too much about that. Scott went down, was it 3 times in the end? Ortiz has been getting a little bit of stick, Smido. Do you blame him for the way he performed? Is he partially to blame, or was it all Scott's fault for basically just running about all night? How did you see it?
I think it's got to be partially to blame, and really, as an Ortiz fan and a team member of Ortiz, you've got to be disappointed. Malik Scott was an embarrassment for the first 4 or 5 rounds and potentially the whole fight. But after a couple of dives and a couple of rollabout, I think there was 2 dives and 2 counted and 3 not counted. I think something like that. You've got to be disappointed with Ortiz. Wilder got rid of him quickly. Chisora got rid of him, halfway through the fight. Ortiz should have been doing better. It was typically Cuban in a way, wasn't it? He kind of lost interest a little bit. The commentary, Johnny Nelson was calling it right, I thought, where he said, just need the first time he lands or throws 4 or 5 punches in a row, then, the fight would have been over. I mean, it was a very, very odd performance from Malik Scott, wasn't it? I mean, there was times in that fight, in like the 8th, 9th, 10th, he almost looked like he started to fancy it. He was trying to whip in some counters, with quite a bit of, they looked powerful, and he started trying at some stages, but it was absolutely strange performance, taking himself to the floor far too often. But, the evidence was there. As soon as Ortiz would have landed properly, the fight would have been over. But he didn't, and you've got to be disappointed. There's 2 ways to look at it, though. Either Ortiz now becomes more matchable, or Ortiz or Eddie and the boys use it as an excuse, not to push him on. The plan was always December the 10th for his next fight, and I got a hint last night that might not be the case. I wouldn't be surprised if Ortiz was to miss that now. there's no real reason why he should from our point of view. But the way Eddie was speaking, it went from a guaranteed appearance to a possibly. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him next. But yeah, you got a bit disappointed. Some would say he's been exposed last night. I wouldn't go that far. And to try and assess Ortiz going forward and form an opinion on him going forward, possibly into the Joshua conversation, it's very difficult given that who he was up against last night.
Yeah, hey to Dave. Adam used the word exposed. They're not his words, obviously, but people were talking and chattering on Twitter, as they tend to do, late into the night. And quite a few points of conversation that came up was the comparison between Ortiz and Joshua. And I kept on saying to myself, oh, Joshua's going to smash him, Joshua this, Joshua's that. I don't want to keep ranting. Every time there's a heavyweight fight, I always end up going on about a rant about Anthony Joshua, Dave. But, I mean, Joshua, you can't really look at Ortiz's deficiencies, in my opinion, and base a Joshua win off that fact, because we're looking at Joshua in the prism that he's beaten Dillian White, he's beaten Brazil, he's beaten Charles Martin. Luis Ortiz looking shit against somebody, or Joseph Parker looking shit against somebody, doesn't automatically, in my book, mean that Joshua's going to smash him, because Joshua's level of opposition has been so poor. Do you get what I'm saying, Dave?
Yeah, you're right. And I also think about styles here. Ortiz struggled with a guy who moves and is slick and crafty. I think that bodes poorly if he's ever to fight Tyson Fury. Don't know about Anthony Joshua, though. He's still this strong motherfucker who can go 12 rounds reasonably easily, which we found out last night, which it's a good thing for Ortiz, even though he didn't hurt him much at all and do anything impressive. I didn't hate the fight, honestly. It was maybe because I was just looking for something to put me to sleep, but I thought it was a reasonably interesting to see how they dealt with each other. And Malik Scott, I still like the guy. I mean, he didn't show much heart, obviously. That first knockdown, he looked like he was ready to be out of there. But he still stayed in. He showed good defense. He showed he could run for 12 rounds, which is impressive for a heavyweight. I mean, if he didn't have that sparring partner mentality, I think he could be something. It's probably too late in his career for him to ever change, but it's a shame. I mean, I still respect the guy. He has a decent heavyweight resume. I'll still watch him again, I think. And I think last night, going the distance with King Kong is going to get him some of those contender fights. It'll make him somewhat of a gatekeeper. So he will be able to dine out on that. As for Ortiz, he should have thrown more when he got him in the corner, when he cut off the ring. The commentators were saying that. One of the commentators kept saying how great he looked. I don't know why. He was way too inactive with his hands, and he looked frustrated at times. But
what feed were you watching? Sorry to interrupt, Dave.
I didn't watch it live. I watched it this morning on the Sky Sports feed.
Oh, Sky. Okay, sorry. Okay. I
think it was Johnny Nelson. I mean, of course, Johnny Nelson would also thought that Malik Scott looked good because that's what he used to do. Yeah, enough said about this fight. Honestly, I still think that the King Kong Joshua fight is good, and I would still favor Ortiz in that fight.
Yeah, enough said about this fight already. Unfortunately, we have 6 or 7 left on the panel. So, Donny Baseball, I always love hearing from you, Donny. It's great to have you on the call tonight. I'm gonna drop a question on your ass. First of all, from Liam Wynn. I think you'll like this one. He says, Donny, what do you view as King Kong's attributes? Apart from cutting the ring off, Liam wasn't too impressed. He says that Scott was slippery, he spent all night running, but he didn't see Ortiz mixing up his shots, offering variation in shot selection. What am I missing, says Liam. What does King Kong do well, and what do you think he could do better, Donny?
Well, I think he does get frustrated with opponents that are kind of negative and don't want to engage. For instance, he didn't look that great against Thompson, and he got hit with a lot of punches in that fight. And last night, he obviously had trouble pinning him down. And as Dave said, because I took the words out of my mouth, actually, a healthy, mentally and physically Tyson Fury, I think, would pose much more problems to him than Joshua would, just because that's the style of fight that he has, or that we know he's at least capable of fighting. To be honest with you, I guess I'm going to defer to somebody else on this question, actually. I can't quite put my finger on it right now. Actually, I'd have to think more about it.
Okay, Donny, while you're thinking, I'm going to pass it along to Andy then. Andy, feel free to talk about Ortiz's strengths or weaknesses or whatever you want, but just tell us in general what you thought about the fight. Were you a fan of what you saw there last night?
Are you kidding me? To be honest, big respect to anybody who actually managed to make it through that fight last night. I was kind of intermittent. I was fleeting in and out. I had all the fights on mute last night. As you know, my personal situation just now is a bit fucking haywire. So just trying to kind of like watch stuff, and that's been quite hard going. But no, I wasn't impressed. I mean, apart from like the knockdowns, which a couple of them did seem quite soft. If you're looking at probably his best attributes, is the fact is if he does land shots on you and stuff, he can basically throw some good combinations. But then, as Adam quite rightly says, this Cuban instinct about him is he just takes time off. Maybe he just wants to admire his work. Maybe he just wants to kind of sit and kind of look for some openings or whatever it is. But maybe it's just the fact that he's off the nandrolone now. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's the reason why he's not got the work rate, because he's off the drugs. But other than that, I mean, as I say, big up to anybody that sat and watched right through that last night. I think I switched it off after about 9 rounds, by which point I think I seen Scott I think he was getting a wee bit he was letting his hands go out a wee bit more, shall we say. He was getting some of his counters off, but it was dire to watch, man. I know some people were saying last week that Louis Ortiz would actually even smash Klitschko. I wasn't one of them, mind you, but shall we say, I think the good thing to say about that fight last night is that the crowd was very, very mild. That's putting it one way.
Yeah, I think, Kurt, I read on Facebook somewhere, someone was saying that it cost about £3 million in total to put that show together. I mean, Eddie shits on the leisure centre shows, but I mean, from what we were watching them in punches from the past, me, you, Andy and Dave Lee, and at least they had a decent atmosphere and to go with some of the fights, although how anybody could get up for that Ortiz-Scott fight, I don't know, Kurt. I must admit, I was a fan of Ortiz. I still remain a fan of sorts. I like the look of him. He looks okay. Now, you were never really sold on him, Kurt, were you? You never really thought he was that good?
Well, it's not that I don't think he's any good. I'm waiting to see how he matches up against a good heavyweight of similar size and power. Because I said before, to me, he's a bit of a flat track bully. He beats smaller guys. Everyone's impressed about his win over Bryant Jennings, but Bryant Jennings is a good heavyweight, but he's a little heavyweight in terms of the big heavyweights we have now. If you put him in with Anthony Joshua would walk through him. To me, it's not a case of Bryant Jennings is not a good fighter. He's just too small. He has no power. He has no real attributes to really give these big guys. But he can't hurt them. I know, Vlad went 12 in, but that's because we all know how cautious he is. Any heavyweight who's confident and looking to get rid of him, like Anthony Joshua is, and Luis Ortiz, will do it. But Malik Scott, he's a shithouse. He's always been a shithouse. My biggest surprise is that people were surprised and people were in uproar about this fight when it was going on. I mean, what did anyone expect Scott to do? Come out and go Riddick Bowe on him and just, go inside and just smash him to pieces? He was always going to run for his life because that's all he ever does. I mean, he's been a sparring partner for years. He's got no power. He's actually one of the best movers of the big men around. I mean, he can move really well, but he's got that sparring partner mentality where his only function is to survive. That's all he does. He doesn't try and win. He just survives. And if he goes rounds and rounds and rounds, he's happy with that. That performance, I don't think it'll bother him that much. Why Eddie Hearn and Matchroom decided to showcase Luis Ortiz against a shithouse like him, I just don't know. Why HBO were interested, I don't know, because unless Luis Ortiz made him quit within the first round, which I thought was going to actually happen because he threw himself down about 4 or 5 times. And then he seemed to get up and think, actually, this fat guy in front of me is not actually that good. Maybe I can just go a few more rounds. And that's what it seemed to be like for me. Luis Ortiz seemed very flat-footed, slow. If you're not going to him, I think he struggles. That's the problem. But if you go to him, and I'm not saying you can just suddenly say Anthony Joshua beats him or anything like that, because it's a totally different fight. Anthony Joshua's not going to be running for his life. Anyone who's in front of him, he can punch hard and he's got quick hands for quite a big guy, but he just didn't look interested. Maybe it was just the fact that Scott was just running so much. He just thought, I can't be bothered with this. Maybe that's it. But he needs better opponents in front of him. He needs guys, someone like Jennings. At least he's going to come to fight. But someone who's going to, can actually beat him as well. Because, like I said, Bryant Jennings can't. Tony Thompson was just well faded. Hopefully December 10th's opponent will be absolutely terrible, as we know that. But hopefully after that, he'll be matched well, because we've heard about all the talent, and he can be a devastating puncher and a fighter, but Malik Scott. Why people even bother with him anymore? He's from Philadelphia as well. I mean, he's a disgrace to some of the Philadelphia fighters we've seen over the years. I mean, that guy, he should just wear his robe, his bathrobe, take his little cup of coffee and cigar, and just fuck off.
Crawl back into his Philly shell. Kurt, just very briefly. I was saying that they're going to get an opponent who's coming forward on December the 10th. My pick would be someone like Jason Gavin. If you could choose, forget about Eddie and all that. If it was your choice, who would you put him in against on December the 10th?
It's just hard because it's going to be someone like that, isn't it? That's the problem. But Dave Allen was tweeting about how he'd put up a better fight, and people laughed at that fight, but he'd actually go in there and try and throw a punch. You know, he won't be like Malik Scott and running, but yeah, it's going to be someone terrible, someone who's going to get knocked out in 1 or 2 rounds by Luis Ortiz. But you can't expect any different now. I don't know. He's only on that card for a showcase, and after that fight last night, they're going to have to make sure it's someone who will, like a journeyman, who will come and give it a go, because Malik Scott was never going to do that.
Eddie Hearn needs to get shit for that card last night. I mean, how many times has Malik Scott been on British TV, either Box Nation or on Sky Sports or whatever, right? They must have known what type of fighter he was. So Eddie Hearn's got to take a lot of shit there for that fight last night. And he can slight Scott for all he wants, but we all knew what he was all about.
You can give Eddie shit for that card, but I think for that fight, but I think the card was good. Much better than I'm used to.
Would Shannon Briggs have been a better opponent for Ortiz last night than Scott?
It might have been a wee bit more action-packed, actually, because I don't think, Briggs would have probably stood in front of him rather than Scott kind of using his lateral movement and just general unicycle.
Briggs has no choice but to stand in front of him, does he? Briggs has to stand in front of people because he can't move.
But Malik Scott, he's a guy who talks himself into these fights. He talks about how he's going to do this. So how many chances is he going to get? I don't know why anyone bothers with him anymore, because he's not cut out for this. He's just not. He should just retire and go away. And I don't see how anyone would have any interest in seeing him ever again. I think he landed 40 punches last night. I mean, I'm like Andy. I didn't sit through the old shit fest, but I watched about 8 rounds, and he must have landed about 5 points up to then. I mean, he was on his arse more than he actually landed punches. So I mean, that says everything.
What if that was the point? What if the point was to put him in a fight was going to look really bad, and then everyone's like, "Oh, no one wants to see Anthony Joshua versus Ortiz because he's boring." You know, the way that they marginalized Guillermo Rigondeaux for the last several years.
Like it, Donny, bit of conspiracy theory.
Evil Eddie.
That's gone a bit far, though, isn't it? That's up there with fucking aliens, fucking putting on George Bush mask and reptiles rule the earth.
Right. We're getting a bit of feedback from somebody. I'm hearing myself twice. Once is bad enough. I know we're getting a bit of grief in the chat. Someone calling me a pedo, so that's not gonna impress them anymore with hearing me twice. Right, Seb, get your teeth into this one as long as everybody can still hear me, okay? Ben Thorns has sent in a question. He calls himself the real King Kong, so I think we know where his allegiances lie. He says, "Is Malik Scott a better win than any of Joshua's wins so far?" What do you think, Seb?
No, I think they're about on par with a lot of them, except that one of them was a titleist. I can't remember what the guy's name is. What was the name of the titleist?
Charles Martin.
Charles Martin, yeah. Nah, I think I don't know what anybody's complaining about, really. There's nothing to take away from the fight other than, I mean, the only surprise about the fight, because it was a shit matchup to begin with, because Luis Ortiz is way past that point anyway of being matched with a guy like Malik Scott. We know where Malik Scott's at. We know what his level is. The only surprise is that Malik went the distance, and it looked like the usual Malik Scott thing where it looked like he was giving the referee any excuse to kind of like get him out of there. But once he was forced to fight, he just kept on going. And we saw that Malik Scott has good defensive ability. You know, that's all he has. He didn't have any offense to bring to the party. That's the only thing. And people complain about Luis Ortiz. Look, Luis Ortiz is a Cuban. When he's knocked people out in the past, he hasn't been looking for it. He boxes. That's what they do. I mean, people talking about, was Luis Ortiz frustrated? Or anything? I don't know if he's frustrated. He looked a little bit disgruntled between rounds and at the end of the fight. But Cubans, it's bred into them. They don't get frustrated. They just box. They just do what they do. And if the knockout comes, they take it. You know what I mean? They just box, and that's what Luis Ortiz was doing from round to round. He was just picking away, and you saw that even when Malik Scott's legs started to go a little bit in the middle rounds, he wasn't as mobile. You know, he started to slow down a little bit. The body shots took the legs away from him. He was still able to defend himself when he was stationary, you know what I mean? And he ended up going the distance. That's the only surprise in the fight. I mean, the fight was what it was supposed to be, except that Malik went the distance. Other than that, I don't think there's anything to take away from the fight in terms of Luis Ortiz. Like, people criticizing him, saying, "Oh, he should have done this. He's overrated." You know, I mean, Luis Ortiz did Luis Ortiz, and Malik Scott did Malik Scott, and Malik Scott somehow ended up. I didn't expect him to go the distance, and he almost didn't, because he gave the referee opportunities to stop it. You know, the referee gave him a 14 count, didn't he? I think there was a 14 count in there. You know,
What do you think about the ref, Seb? Inexperienced, never seen him before?
No, I wasn't familiar with him. I mean, I think he more or less forced Malik Scott to fight, and Malik's corner forced him to fight. Went out there, like, Malik looked like he didn't want to be out there, but the corner were like geeing him up and saying, "Come on, get out there and fight. You know, do this, do that, do the other." Go on. Is that Andy talking? No, I mean, it's just. I honestly don't think there's anything to take up from that fight about either fighter. We know what Malik Scott is. He was good defensively. He showed that if I mean, Ortiz didn't have any problem tracking him down or pinning him down. He had problems landing clean punches because Malik Scott is good at blocking the punches. He's good at riding with the punches. He's got good defensive skills, but he don't bring anything else to the party, really. He's not really a very good offensive fighter. So all he could do it was a little bit like to pick one out of the blue, it was a little bit like a Hopkins-Kovalev situation, you know what I mean, where all the guy had in there, but all he really could do was survive, and that's what Malik Scott did.
Smido, did you want to jump in there? Smido, we seem to have two of you on the call, but you know what? Two is better than one when it comes to you. What do you want to say?
No, it's all right, pal. It's all right, move on.
Right, Tommy, if Ortiz wanted a decent opponent at the weekend, it came to my attention that Danny Williams was fighting against a 53-year-old. So, I mean, he could have found one of those two guys. But putting that to one side, Tommy, just looking at this from a wider point of view, the whole Monaco experience, I said before how much it cost, to my understanding. And Craig Mastro-Totaro sent us a question in. He said, do we think Eddie will make it a regular thing, taking the undercard filler fighters to Monaco for shows? Just before you go into Ortiz, Scott, Tommy, what do you think about that one?
Oh, you were breaking up there, Steve. I didn't hear the question, mate.
Oh, sorry, I think it seems to be breaking up again. Apologies for that, guys. Yeah, we had a question in from Craig saying, do you think Eddie will make this a regular thing, going to Monaco with the undercard filler fighters?
I think it was just a fucking excuse for a party and that. They were all out there last night, weren't they? Fucking all the Sky guys, Bellew was out there, the Smiths were out there, fucking Johnny and Elsie, and they've probably been out there following the fucking powder and carrying on and that, haven't they?
Aye.
They'll probably make that a once a year excursion. You jolly boys out there to Monaco, eh? So
going to Roman Abramovich's yacht and that, and just get all the sluts and the coke going on away.
Regarding the fight, though, man, I'll say this, right? See if the next big podcast was a fighter, it would be fucking Malik Scott, wouldn't it? He was shit last night, man. I don't know how they got that guy here and that. That was a horror show. And I've said before, I'm not impressed with Luis Ortiz. I don't think he trusts his gas tank, and I think that's the reason that Malik Scott was still there at the end of the fight. If that guy's fair, I've got more chance of getting mistaken for Brad Pitt than that guy being 37 years old, man. No fucking danger. He's about 45, between 45 and 50, and he's juiced to the gills. That's Luis Ortiz, sorry. I think Joshua was smashing my bits, to be honest.
Joshua will smash him to bits, says the Guru. Any final comments on the heavyweight action before we move on to the slightly contentious undercarding points?
We've managed to do this for 24 minutes, discuss this absolute shitfest.
That ref was a joke. I mean, I felt like both the guys just pretty much ignored him when he was giving his pre-fight announcement, like, listen to me, protect yourself. Neither guy was looking at him. The ref was just staring vacant-eyed, and he looked terrified of both guys. He tried to grab Ortiz's arm to make him touch gloves. He couldn't reach it, so they just tapped each other. I mean, the guy was a mug. I don't know what he was doing in there.
I do disagree with Tommy. I think Ortiz would cause Joshua a lot of problems because Joshua ain't gone. Joshua ain't. So like Tyson Fury says, Joshua ain't the brains of Britain, is he? You know, he's going to be there for Ortiz. You know, I mean, Malik Scott. If there's one thing about Malik Scott, he's got a lot of nous. He can defend himself, you know, and we saw that last night. We saw that if you take the legs away from him, even if you can pin him down, he can defend himself. But Joshua ain't the brains of Britain, is he? He's got about as much brains as in that fucking bag of washing right there.
I think
I mean, it's a different fight. I mean, Luis Ortiz versus Joshua is going to be a great fight. I like that fight, but I love Tommy because that's my guy, and when I meet him, we're going to have a good time. You know, so but the thing is about me and Tommy, right? We can fucking disagree, but that's my guy. But carry on, continue.
Yeah. Kurt,
just quickly, I'd last this. It's like every week we complain about British stoppages or refs when they stop a fight. When Malik Scott was just dying to quit last night, I was just thinking, just wave your hands, just let him quit. We don't want to see this carry on and on. And the ref was just, I don't know if he had a bet on the points or what, but he was basically forcing Malik Scott to fight. And like Seb said, you know, once he realised that he had to fight, he did a bit better. I mean, he couldn't do any worse. But yeah, it was one of those times where I was thinking, just, you know, call it off.
Call it off. Right, we're going to call this discussion off, Kurt, anyway, and move on to the undercard. Smido, I'm going to drop this one onto you. There's no better way to start this. Jamie McDonald fight against, who's he fighting? Lorio Solis. I think we all know, basically, that Jamie had lost the fight. I think Box Bet Beast, Smido says, was I that wrong? I had it 116, 112 to Solis. If I'd backed the upset, I'd be pure raging. You're a betting man, Smido. If you'd have backed the upset, you'd be raging too.
Yeah, well, I was raging. I did consider backing Solis. I'm not going to claim that I backed him because I didn't. I considered it, and then it was between 8 and 9 to 1. Massive price. This guy was a genuine super flyweight world champion. I was put off by two things. His age is getting on a little bit, 34 now, and his size, or the size difference in comparison to McDonald. So no bet was placed. After the first round, Solis was 11 to 4. So he obviously got off to a flyer. Jamie Mack, you know, does often start slow, but you know, if you have backed him, you've done a bit of the research, because obviously Solis is not really known to the matchroom fans. You've done a bit of research. Solis has done the hard work in the ring. You go to the scorecards, and that one, I mean, to be honest, I forgot the other two scorecards, but the one that 117 to 111, to only give Solis 3 rounds is absolutely disgusting. I was raging. I'd not lost a single penny, but I was raging. I just couldn't believe it. I mean, and the reaction, well, I mean, at least the commentators last night, even Bellew, who's part of the stable, had Jamie McDonald losing.
Smido, see the crowd, man, after that fight, that was probably the best fucking noise they made all night.
Says it all. Yeah, there was a genuine reaction. I mean, honestly, 3 rounds. If I'm Solis there, you know, he knows he's the away fighter. I know it's in Monaco, but he's still the away fighter. I'm just wanting to walk away from the sport there. I'm doing an Adrian Broner. I'm leaving the ring. I'm going backstage, and I'm going to cry, because that was absolutely disgusting. You must be so disheartened. And then it's like the comedian duo, Eddie comes on and says, oh, well, you know, I just had him nicking it. Fuck off. You just had him nicking it.
That's Eddie's way of saying that he lost, but I'm going to have to come off with something.
Oh, yeah. He's standing there with Jamie McDonald doing it. He's one side off, weight, and then they go over to Jamie McDonald. No, I'm happy at this weight. It's such a load of shit. It was so bad. 3 rounds. I mean, I had it. I think I had it 4-2 at one stage. I had it. I finished up 7-5 or 8-4. There was a couple of close rounds, quite well, but he just couldn't get his rhythm going. I think he struggled with Solis's height, as in, you know, it was punching down to him. He couldn't really get a rhythm going. I think he busted his nose at one point. I think he probably busted his hand around the 9th or 10th. It didn't go all that well for Jamie McDonald, but it is a shame. And obviously Jamie and his trainer don't control the card. It is a shame for Jamie McDonald, because last year he was absolutely fantastic. Other than Tyson Fury last year, 2015, Jamie McDonald was probably the British Fighter of the Year. He's done absolutely brilliant. He's done it under the radar. He's been in America. His one title was not even on TV. You know, and to just be, that's going to really, you know, that's his reputation is going to be built, you know, around, pretty much around last night, because the only other places we've seen him has been on a pay-per-view undercard at Wembley when no fucker was watching or no fucker was there, you know. So last night was a little bit of a showcase for Jamie McDonald. I mean, going into last night, he was probably the highest quality boxer on there. And proven. you know,
Smido, just regarding the commentary, actually, let me just say one thing. You said, Bellew had him losing and that, but to be honest with you, I thought Bellew and Smith, wasn't it? They had him losing under duress from Adam Smith because they had it like close or maybe ahead by McDonald after about the 8th or 9th, and Smith had sort of a word with them, and then they changed their scorecards from that point onwards. I think they were ready to put the fix in.
Well, he's got a good name, Adam Smith, and he I think he performed up to his name, to his high class name last night. To be fair, because you know he gave Johnny Nelson a bit of shit. He gave Bellew and Paul Smith some half decent stick. I thought he was all right, but it just makes you. I just couldn't believe it. I was absolutely fuming. I really was, and it just. What chance have we got of someone last night has flicked that on? Maybe a casual that is on the AJ train and he's just had a stop. He's had a stop at Monte Carlo on the AJ train and he's watching a Saturday night, and then you watch that and it just puts you off. Where do we go from there, lads? Honestly, where do we go?
Calm down, because I know Hater Dave is primed, ready to go in. After Dave's had his say, I'll open it up to the panel and you guys can say what you want. Hater Dave, I know you're ready to have a go on this one.
I don't have much to say about the fight, but the judge, 9-3, fucking Robert Hoyle again. I hate this cunt. He's always doing this wide scorecards. He doesn't even try to hide the bias. Just look through his judging record on BoxRec. You'll see it time and again. He's terrible. He needs to be investigated or shot in the face with a shotgun.
Kurt?
That's quality, man.
I didn't like the fact that I think Ed Robinson went to Eddie at the end and he said like a rematch, Eddie, and Eddie was like, no, straight away. He just said that. I mean, for a guy who
122 pounds, that was his response. He's gone up in weight.
Yeah, for a guy who really screams about rematches when his fighter loses a clear fight, or whatever, he's just so quick to dismiss that. I mean, I felt Jamie lost, but I don't think it was like as wide as what some people had it. I think Jamie definitely stepped up the second half of the fight as the other guy tired, but he just lost too many early rounds, and he was getting hit. All the big shots seemed to be coming from Solis as well, and I don't know. He couldn't deal with the guy that he just kept in, and he was like throwing in bunches, got close, and he kept going to the ropes. Well, that's the problem, and he looked bad for him. Even though I think he was having success on the ropes, it didn't look that way because the guy was just landing one big shot that would send his head back, his face so bloody, and for him to say at the end that he felt he was in control of the whole fight. I mean, maybe he was hit a bit too hard during the fight, but yeah, it was. I felt the other guy deserved the fight, but. The scorecards, I mean, I don't know how anyone can explain that. I mean, if you have McDonald maybe getting a draw, maybe I could see that. But to have him winning, by the lengths that they did, I mean, the guy had no chance, did he? He'd have to, knock him out. That's the only way he had a chance. You could see his face at the end how devastated he was by it. So, I mean, it's a good fight, but yeah, it is what it is.
K-Weezy, I only caught the last couple of rounds, man, but Jamie McDonald looked good fighting off the ropes, but from the sounds of it, it sounds like he got started. Thing is, Jamie McDonald's good stamina, so it sounds like the other guy slowed down and then Jamie was taking over. But what I saw from the 2 rounds, I saw Jamie look good, but I only saw 2 rounds, and that was the last 2 rounds. So I like Jamie though. He can box. He's a good boxer, isn't he? He's a good little boxer.
Did you give Jamie the last 2 rounds? Because at one stage, I thought if Jamie swept the last 3 rounds, which I expected, he was coming on strong, that I'd have him winning the fight. But he didn't sweep the last 3 rounds.
Brother, I can't remember if I scored them all for him, all 3 in a row, but he looked good the last 3 rounds. He boxed nicely.
Better, yeah.
He was countering well off the ropes. He was throwing nice little short left hooks, and I think he did hurt the guy at one point, didn't he, at the end of a round? Seemed to stagger him, maybe the end of the 9th round. But it sounds like I saw the best of Jamie McDonald, and everybody else saw a shitty Jamie McDonald for the first 9 rounds, and the other guy was coming on, and then maybe he faded late and Jamie looked good. But what I saw, Jamie looked good, but I can't judge the whole fight because I only saw 3 rounds. So there you go.
I saw the fight, right? Now, a lot of fans are making out that like this was some absolutely disgusting robbery. And look, I did score the fight for Solis. I thought he won the fight 7-5, but that Jamie took rounds 9, 10, 11 and 12. He could have won the rounds on the cards. And there is a couple of rounds that were maybe nip and tuck earlier. Now, I think Solis, it would be harsh to score it against Solis, but it's no out of the realms of possibility that you know, that somebody could maybe score us a draw, or that I'd lean more towards maybe an 8-4 than a draw, but there is enough rounds in there that you could get to McDonald. I don't think it was this absolutely terrible robbery that people are talking about. I actually won a few quid on this fight last night. Start at the 9th round, I seen 72 for McDonald to win a decision. I stuck 50 quid right on that. I knew McDonald was getting that decision last night. So as I said, I could see the way the fight was going. I know McDonald's got a strong gas tank. He was probably going to win the later rounds, and no way he was going to lose the fight. As I say, I don't think it was an absolutely terrible robbery, but I do think he lost the fight.
Sorry, I was on mute there, guys. Yeah,
that's Tommy. Tommy's fair and balanced, like Megan Kelly. You know, Fox News Megan Kelly. Tommy's fair and balanced, like Megan Kelly. Carry on.
Okay, so we'll leave that reference hanging out there. I'm going to read a rant.
I got it, but I think me and Dave are probably the ones that did. Yeah.
I'm coming to you next, Donny. I'm going to read a very brief rant from Ben Scott, our website designer. He put it on the Facebook page. It sounded like he really wanted to get this off his chest. He said, "I'm still pure raging because of Eddie fucking Hearn again claiming McDonald nicked the fight, and it was the right result, so we should all stop moaning." A repeat of the Burns relic response. "I know we've done this to death, but someone has got to be brought to account. I'm losing serious poke on these robberies." He's losing money, Donny. These robberies have got to stop, man.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I told you when in the chat. I didn't know if I told you or not. I didn't see this one, but in general, you know, I mean, you know, it's a high-profile event. Any kind of matchroom card seems to be these days. The numbers he's pulling in, and of course, anytime you got heavyweights, and you know he has Joshua in the stable, it's going to be big news because there's going to be intrigue surrounding any kind of fight. And you know, I mean, yeah, I mean, when these kind of high-profile robberies happen, we question why we still like this sport, especially when someone rums it in at the end and says, "Yeah, no rematch, absolutely not." So you know, I think that as a fan, that has to get you pretty frustrated, but it'd probably even get you more frustrated when it hits you in the wallet. So best advice would probably be to lay off some of these things until these judging situation seems to sort itself out. So
no problem, Donald. Any final comments on McDonald before we move on to the Sosa Smith fight?
Jamie McDonald is a great boxer. I love that kid. He's a good boy. He's from around my ends, and he's a good boxer. The kid can box. And if he got a little bit of a gift last night, he deserves it because he goes everywhere and he fights every fucker. You know what I mean? He goes abroad. He don't care where he goes. You know what I mean? He just goes abroad and he fights. He's a good kid. I love the kid. And I love Tommy. And when I meet Tommy, I'm going to get him drugs. I'm going to get him fucking real drugs.
Seb,
if you like drugs, tell me I'm going to fucking get you drugs, boy.
Seb, are you on the ecstasy, mate?
I think he's on the laughing gas, mate. Yeah,
he's on the X.
I'm a little bit heptal on goofballs right now, but you know what I mean.
He's on the laughing gas. I've took that shit before. That's fucking mental. I know exactly what he's on.
He's on the X, man. He's definitely on the X.
You know what? There used to be a guy in Wolverhampton Town Centre called Ezra. This little fella used to hand out Bible leaflets and used to shout out verses at random. And that just reminded me of that, Seb, that little rant that you went on. We need more of that on the pod, so store that one up in future.
Yeah. I'm always handy, you know. I'm always on it. I'm always fucking on it. I'm always on it.
Was it Ben who was complaining about
any of these guys, right? Any of these guys who are fucking talking shit. Fucking shit. What are they calling that guy? Sheep. They call him sheep, don't they? Sheep. You know that guy, sheep? Fucking.
Right, Kurt, go ahead.
What was the website designer? What's his name? Ben?
Yeah.
He's complaining about losing money. I mean, but there's a simple solution. Just bet everything on the matchroom guy. He won't ever lose money. I mean, you might have to put $2,000 on to win $2,000 and 10p, but you'll win money. Just do keep doing that.
What people should do? They should bet mostly in play because the bookies odds never reflect the way the judges are going to hate for the home guy. If the bookies last night they had the fight at 72 for McDonald to win the decision after during the 9th round. Now the judges have also had him up in the fight. So
see personally,
if there's a close fight between a matchroom fighter, or do you think a matchroom fighter's doing going into about the 9th or the 10th round? Bet on the matchroom fighters for decision one.
Tell me something. Who on this panel here all scored the first 3 rounds for Solis?
I didn't, to be honest. I think I gave the second or third to McDonald. I had it 2-1 after 3. I must admit.
Right, so he's so basically you've give Solis 2 rounds out of 3. So there's that judge couldn't see any conceivable way that he could win more than 3 rounds. It's an absolute disgrace. It's disgusting. I've said it before. 117, 111. There was 0 point. I tweeted this exact same point out last night. There is 0 point of Solis turning up for that fight last night with 117, 111 scorecards getting handed in with a straight face. While we winked to the side to Eddie Hearn, my brown envelope, waiting in your fucking flush, fucking posh hotel room that he seems to be putting up all his fucking cronies and his officials and all his pals in matchroom and that. They're all getting put up in the finest. We discussed it before, Steve, about how these things are paid off and stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the reason. But Robert Hoyle needs investigated. There's far too many instances involving him. Absolute disgrace.
It's an absolute disgrace, said Andy. Right, Amir Khan's jumped on the line. Amir, ignore the haters. Tell us about Jamie McDonald. What do you think? Fair result, or was Solis stiffed?
I'm turning into a casual. I didn't actually watch the boxing this weekend, so
This is a good start.
What did I miss? No, I just thought like the shows were going to be crap, and I thought there's no point just staying in and just watching rubbish, really. So I just went out for a meal.
Just do what we do. Just pretend you watched it.
Right. Points, I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, stay tight, Amir. Stay tight, Amir. I'll come back to you with a question in a minute. I've got one lined up for you. Don't worry about that. Right, yeah. Stephen Smith against Jason Sosa. Kurt, help me out here. This was a result that was never in doubt. Sosa was always the man. Great body shots, heavy puncher. Smith got a cut. He showed some bollocks, didn't he, Smith, basically hanging in there, but there was never any doubt over the winner. Although on these cards, you never know.
Steve, I'm going to do an Amir. I'm a casual. I didn't see these fights. Sorry.
Oh, for God's sake.
Right, Wellings, I watched it. Sosa was like, I quite enjoyed Sosa, actually. That's the kind of style I enjoy. He was absolutely relentless, coming forward, swinging away. Smith was genuinely hurt a couple of times in the first 2 or 3 rounds. The cut eye was pretty bad, but the doctor dealt with that in a strange fashion twice. The doctor should be examining on a cut, not cleaning it up. Maybe you do need to wipe some blood away to see it, but he was wiping his whole face down to his nose and his mouth. The way the doctor dealt with that twice was unsatisfactory, to be honest.
He put pressure on it too. He was actually trying to stem the blood flow.
He was the best cuts man in the ring, wasn't he? The doctor.
Well, yeah. I mean, it didn't even deteriorate between the first examination and the second. I mean, the second examination was uncalled for, you could argue. But anyway, that was strange. I thought Sosa was decent, quite compact, looked very strong, and like I say, was winging away. The knockdown, he did stand on his foot during the knockdown. So, who's that breathing? Yeah, he did stand on his foot for the knockdown, but swings and roundabouts, you can say. What is that?
Seb, mute yourself. What the fuck?
Seb's just sniffed my line. Leave my line, for fuck's sake.
But yeah, Smith wasn't. He almost had to start fighting fire with fire, which he didn't want to do, but he had no choice because Sosa was just ploughing forward. Sosa did start to gas, and as expected, really, he really went for it early doors. Started to slow down towards the end of the fight, but like you say, Steve, even on a matchroom card, and even with what we saw earlier in the night, this result was surely never in doubt. Smith's face after the fight looked absolutely battered. He was quite honest and said that he wasn't good enough. It's been an absolute.
Oh, we've lost half the panel, as we tend to do every week for some reason. The remaining members of the panel, we've got Kurt on, Tommy, Andy, and Hater Dave Lowe back, and myself. Smido's jumped back on. Seb's jumped back on. They're all coming back one at a time. Whoever wants to jump in on this fight, then let us know what you think, and then we'll move on, guys.
I like Jason Sosa. He's a durable guy. I think the thing to note about Jason Sosa is he's an aggressive fighter, but he's kind of cute with it. It's not like he was fighting the slickest guy in the world. Stephen Smith fashions himself after a kind of a boxer style. He's not the cutest guy in the world. If he was the cutest guy in the world, he would have been able to deal with it. But Sosa was cuter than him, if you ask me. I mean, it wasn't until Stephen started actually standing and banging with him that he was able to really make connections. When he was trying to box him, when he was trying to outstyle him, trying to give him, a little bit of a look, a little bit of, angles and whatnot, he wasn't able to really land clean. It wasn't until he actually started standing and slugging with him that Sosa even respected him. Like that first 3 or 4 rounds, like Sosa had no respect for him. He was slipping inside and he was landing his shots. He was landing to the body, he was landing to the head. And if Smith had carried on fighting the way he was, he probably would have gotten stopped. It was what it was. Stephen Smith is slick at domestic at domestic level, but he's not slick at world level. He can be closed down and he can be hit. And that's what it was. It's like, I honestly don't think Stephen, you can give him more chances if they want. Eddie will find more chances for Stephen. He will give him another title shot. That's what will happen. Stephen Smith will get another world title shot, but he won't be good enough. And unless he's fighting against a guy who's, a stiff, who's picked from a rankings. You know what I mean? Unless he's fighting against a complete stiff, Stephen Smith will never win a world title because he's slick at domestic level, but when you step him up a level, he's not quite good enough. Jason Sosa was slick. He got inside. He was able to make Stephen Smith miss. And it wasn't until Stephen Smith stood his ground and banged with him that he was able to get Sosa's respect a little bit. But
you make a good point, though, Seb, in that, how many do we have to keep getting him opportunities and keep trying to find stiffs until eventually he wins a world title?
Do you know what my problem is? Do you know what my problem is here? It's the what happens in between losing a world title fight and then this is the problem, especially with that fucking family as well. They're going to go now. They're going to say the world level, even though they've lost twice, which has happened to a couple of them, and then they're going to fight absolutely nothing in between.
Adam, they want a world title for the Smiths. That's what they want. They're begging.
They're going to get
one. The Smiths have never won a world title. They're only going to get it if they pick a stiff out of the rankings. They're going to get it. They will get it eventually, Adam. They will get it because they're going to pick a stiff out of the rankings, and that's all that will happen.
Well, they've already picked a stiff out the rankings for Liam Smith. Was it John Thompson?
They will get a proper stiff, mate. They will get a real stiff.
Right, so that's ambitious. So let's just take the WBO title. Let's just say it is a legit title that Liam Smith held, which it isn't, right? But people are going to argue the case that it is, right? So let's just say Tesco Joe's actually 3-5 in world title fights. Supposed world title fights in the vertic comma, shall we say?
The 3 wins is fucking Thompson.
Exactly.
That Kelly, whatever his name was, Kevin.
And some Bosnian warlord that should have been in the Hague for fucking.
Radosavage.
Aye.
Radosavage.
Well, Andy, Joe Gallagher's always moaning that he doesn't get enough credit. I would actually argue that not only does he get enough credit, he actually gets too much credit because basically, if you're looking at the achievements on paper, what's he getting credit for?
Listen, mate, I've heard Joe Gallagher fucking actually likened to Freddie Roach, call him a master trainer and stuff, and he's got the world-renowned Smith Brothers and stuff. His resume at top level is non-existent. It fucking really is. I mean, what's his best win, really? What's his best win for any of these fighters? I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
Probably Kiko Martinez.
Probably crusty neck against fucking Sedge Locker.
Can I tell you all something? It's fashionable to hate on Joe Gallagher now. I've hated on him ever since he fucking put Joe Murray in with Brandon Rios. And he kept sending him out. And the guy was getting battered. And it was so obvious. Like, a guy doesn't want to quit. And I admire John Murray for not wanting to quit. I never think a fighter should quit. I think a fighter's corner or the referee should spare him. And if I was in John Murray's corner, I would have said, listen, you're a brave kid, but I'm going to save you. And Joe Gallagher never saved him. He kept sending him out until he got stopped.
He lost his eyesight now. Well, one of his eyesight.
That's it, man. He's badly hurt. He's got, he's had to have operations. He's had to have all that shit. I would have pulled John Murray out because there was no chance in hell he was ever going to win that fight. He didn't have the punch to do it because Brandon's a tough kid, and he was just getting battered. And I've hated Joe Gallagher ever since then. Ever since then, I've hated Joe Gallagher because he sent. I wasn't even a Joe Murray fan. I was actually really a fucking Joe Murray hater. I was really happy. I won like fucking 600 quid when Kevin Mitchell knocked that kid out. But I send that kid out when he's getting absolutely battered and he's got no hope. It's like, I don't like quitters, but And John Murray ain't a quitter. He's the kind of kid who would just go out there when his corner tells him to. Really nice kid and just a fucking brave kid. And Joe Gallagher never saved him, and that's why I hate Joe Gallagher. Not because all these fucking MVP dick suckers are like fucking, oh, we hate Joe Gallagher because we hate Matchroom. You know, it's like I fucking hate Joe Gallagher because he sent John Murray out there when he was getting battered and had no chance to win. Save the boy, save the boy.
See, the biggest thing, Steve, as well, is one of the things that's really kind of inflated that ego a bit is getting that Ring Magazine Trainer of the Year award last year. Which I actually trying to remember why you won it again and for what reason. I mean,
Crawler.
I was going to say Crawler, mate. Aye, probably.
The results in general don't correlate with maximum praise. I think he gets enough praise, enough exposure for what he's achieved. That's fair enough. But he wants more all the time.
I think going back to your original.
We lost Smido.
Go on again.
Sake.
There you go, mate.
Go ahead, Smid.
My point in thinking is, to go with the whole Sky and Matchroom casual movement, is that they've got Tony Sims in the south and they've got Joe Gallagher in the north. Joe Gallagher, there's only one fighter I know that he's got, or maybe two if you including Paul Butler, that don't fight for Eddie. You know, so that's where he gets the attention, and then he gets false praise on the back of that attention. Yeah.
Right, listen, we're having a few technical issues. Never mind MVP. It's the NSA are after us. I think they're trying to cut us off at the moment, so we're going to proceed. Anyway, final, very brief comments on Monaco, because considering that the main event was shit and all that, we've done nearly an hour on it, guys. Anybody want to add anything? Martin Murray, don't really care. Come on.
Martin Murray's a shock fighter. His timing's off. He was eating far too many punches last night.
Adam, can I say something, Adam? Martin Murray was always shit. His whole esteem came off of fucking old Felix Sturm and an old, actually not an old, but a crippled Sergio Martinez.
Yeah.
His entire esteem came from an old Felix Sturm. Not even an old Felix Sturm, but just a jaded Felix Sturm. He's constantly going through the motions. It was never that good in the first place. Yeah. And then you've got a fella like Sergio Martinez, who was coming off a knee injury, and we saw how bad he looked in that fight. And then he looked even fucking worse against Cotto when he'd had another knee injury. It's just like Martin Murray was never anything. He was never anything. And I keep saying that. It's like he's a fucking bag of shite. He's just a Euro level fighter, mate.
But what he is, we've got another one like Paul Smith, like Martin Murray, who are going to claim that they are chasing more titles. It is ridiculous. I think that if they've talked about Murray and Eubank, and he said he will go back down to middle for that, Eubank would flatten Martin Murray.
Let me revise my comment a minute, Adam. I don't want to call him a bag of shite. He's a solid Euro level fighter. I don't think there's anything wrong with being domestic level, Euro level, but it's all relative. The comments that we're making are all relative. When it comes to world level, he's not the goods. Martin Murray is not the goods.
That's fair enough. But the facade that Eddie's getting away with creating is that if you're above domestic level, you're world. There's no in between. The European level, which there's nothing wrong with Martin Murray being European level, but that European level in the eyes of Sky Sports and Eddie does not exist.
Oh, right. That's it. Seb, I'm going to move on. I don't know if you've seen the Danny Garcia fight or not. I know that you haven't. I haven't actually seen it either. He won by 7th round knockout. Javier Fortuna got a win over Omar Douglas, and Jarrett Hurd knocked out Donut Dan over in Philadelphia. This was on the PBC. Anybody? Donnie, Dave, do you want to have any comments on this before we go over to Germany for the Stieglitz fight?
I think
Garcia. On Garcia?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that guy Vargas was outclassed from the start, and he gave it a good go. But the difference in power was just the whole story. I mean, Garcia just did not have to fear whatsoever anything that was coming back to him, and he hurt him in the 5th, I think it was, and stopped him in the 6th, was it? And
7th.
The 7th. There was 3. He hurt him in the 6th, stopped him in the 7th. But yeah, I mean, it was the writing was on the wall from about the 2nd round. Vargas has some boxing ability, but he just didn't really belong in the same ring. And I mean, the thing is that I guess I've been all over Danny Garcia for being a huge ducker ever since he basically, once he won that Matisse fight, to me he was like, all right, I paid my dues now. Now I don't want to fight anybody. And he was just interested in getting the biggest paydays for the least risk. It's probably not entirely his fault. He's been off so long with the 14 months. That might have to do with Heyman. If he was off for 14 months or whatever, and he was supposed to go into a fight with with Thurman next year. Okay, well that be now about that would be about a 17-month layoff or something. I mean, what are you, crazy? You have to have a tune-up or something just to get your ring rust off, get your timing back. I'm fine with that. I wish that the tune-up was against somebody who presented a little bit more risk, because it's like, I mean, at least the announcers were honest with people. They were like, well, I mean, this is kind of just a tune-up, and you basically tell them there's like no way the other guy's going to win. I mean, at least if there was just maybe some sort of intrigue to it, or if the guy could punch or something. But then again, I understand, Heyman probably doesn't want to risk a big welterweight showdown between those two guys. So, I mean, but yeah, it was, I mean, the fans got what they wanted, though. I mean, Danny Garcia, he does sell the tickets. Steb, sound like you're having a wank. Mute yourself. No, but anyways, no, I mean, but the fans totally got what they wanted, though. I mean, if you looked at the arena was packed. He was like, Danny Garcia was egging on the crowd at the end. He's like, did you all want to see me kick this guy's ass? Pointing to Thurman, of course, who could come into the ring. And, I mean, it was all staged, but I mean, they ate it up. They loved it. And I think that he did well to sell himself for the fight coming up. And so I don't begrudge him the tune-up.
Tommy, oh yeah, Dave, let me just ask you this, actually. You do begrudge him the tune-up, because if we're going to be guaranteed a Thurman fight next year, isn't it just okay that we just say, oh, well, he can fight this Vargas guy? Or is it a bit like saying, oh, you can have a chocolate cake next week, but you have to eat this shit souffle this week? I mean, you're not happy, Dave?
No, he should have fought Thurman this year. Fuck him. Why wasn't the Thurman fight happening right now? These guys are way too inactive, way overpaid. I'm just tired of waiting around for the big fights to happen. 2016 was mostly a waste because of this. I mean, the whole second half of the year, PBC offered nothing. And I mean, they're promising us some stuff for next year, but I mean, come on, there's no point. I mean, the writing was on the wall, as Donnie said, when the fucking fight was signed, not in the second round. I mean, I'm tired of it from Danny Garcia. I hope Thurman. I mean, he has a decent chance against Thurman too, because I think Thurman is hiding a little bit of glass.
Right on, Dave.
I still like Thurman, and I want Thurman to spark him cold, and I hope he just retires after that. And then he can go out of the ring and spark his dad too. And I love what Terrence Crawford has been talking shit on Angel Garcia.
Wait, Dave, could I just ask, wouldn't it be funny if he did a Juanma, right? So he Garcia, and he just goes over his corner and knocks at Angel Garcia.
That would. I can't even imagine like little hippie Keith Thurman doing that, but it would be hilarious.
Can I have a word on this fight?
Yes.
Because you've been leaving me till last. But the thing about Thurman Garcia is, listen, Danny Garcia deserves all the criticism he gets for taking soft touch after soft touch between hard fights. But Danny Garcia is a serious guy. I'm not saying he's an A guy, but he's a capable boxer. He's well-rounded. And Keith Thurman, I expect Thurman to win, but it's not going to be an easy night. Not everybody, but a lot of people thought, oh, he's going to knock Porter out. He's going to catch him coming in. Listen, Thurman ain't a great counterpuncher. Danny Garcia is a good counterpuncher. I'm not ruling Danny Garcia win out. Like, Keith Thurman should win this fight. He should win this fight. But I'm not going to rule the Danny Garcia win out, because, listen, Amir Khan should have won that fight. And he should win a rematch, because he's got the tools to do it. He's got the tools to outwork deliberate Danny. Danny's a very deliberate fighter. He's not an intense pressure fighter. He's a very slow, deliberate fighter. And Amir, if he sticks to his jab, he can catch him off. He can put him off balance. He can make him reset, and he can just about squeak out a victory. And Thurman can do the same. But Thurman isn't no great counterpuncher. He's not going to catch Danny Garcia coming in. Danny Garcia should. Keith Thurman should get the win here. But Danny is good enough that if Keith Thurman makes any mistakes, Danny Garcia can capitalize and win. I expect Keith Thurman to win. I do expect him to win. I'm not a fan of Keith Thurman. I don't think he's all that. A lot of people think Keith Thurman is the goods. I don't think he's the goods. He should win this fight. They're both kind of B line, just a bit above the typical B kind of fighter. I think Danny Garcia is a guy who is well-rounded, and if Keith Thurman makes any mistakes, Danny can win this fight.
My problem with Garcia is he's had a good upset win against Khan. He's had an excellent win against Matisse. And whether it's his fault, his dad's fault, or Uncle Al's fault, he's done. People like me who think he's decent, he's got a quite enjoyable style. He's scored a couple of very good knockouts on the eye. He's done shit all. He's an irrelevance. Last night was an irrelevance, and he'll be an irrelevance until the first bell goes against Thurman.
I agree with that, but I'm actually picking him to beat Thurman. I just wanted to throw that out there. I'm picking him to beat Thurman. I haven't been impressed with Thurman. Very brief final comments on Garcia. Anybody? Otherwise, we're moving on to Germany.
Steve, how do you think he beats Thurman? Steve, I want to hold the host to account. How do you think he beats Thurman, Steve? Come on, tell me.
Well, like any of my picks, Seb, could be full of shit, could be true. Garcia is the type of guy I think he's going to rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
Against Khan, I thought he was losing the first few rounds, definitely. He was struggling really badly with Khan's speed. But obviously, as we know, Khan holds his chin out to dry.
And he stands in the pocket throwing 6 punches at a time.
He stands in the pocket. Okay, fair enough. That was the Khan win. Matisse win. I actually picked him to beat Matisse. We've gone through this on Twitter before.
So did I, Stephen. Have you seen my classic meme, Stephen? Have you seen my classic meme, Steve?
I haven't seen your classic meme.
I'll send it to you after this podcast, Steve.
You send it.
You know the black eye you got from Vivian Harris? I posted that before the fight, and I said, I posted a meme with the black eye from the Vivian Harris fight, and I said, Danny Garcia lied to me. Yeah. That's a classic meme. That's a classic prediction.
I'm expecting Garcia to rise to the occasion. It's based on nothing more than that. Thurman, I was impressed with him early on. I enjoyed his fight against Chavez. I thought he was going places. And then all of a sudden, he seemed to ease off in the ring as well. He started becoming this boxer all of a sudden. He fought, was it Luis Collazo he wasn't that impressive against? I thought the Bundu fight was terrible. And I think that Thurman is hiding a little bit of glass, as they say out there.
I agree with you, Stephen. I think he's hiding some glass.
And Garcia is going to hurt him, and he's going to go into his shell, and Garcia is going to beat him. That's the best I can come up with.
The only thing is Thurman, if he gets hurt, he can cut. I'll give this to Thurman. He's got decent intangibles. You know, he wants it. He actually wants it, Thurman. He is a little bit of a bitch, Thurman, in between fights. And he didn't want anything to do with Kell Brook, and that's a fact. He didn't want anything to Kell Brook. But once you get him in between those ropes, he will fight for what he's worth. And I think if Garcia gives him problems, Garcia, there's a point where Garcia will land, and someone will be like, "Ooh, but he will hang in there, and he will win the decision. But it ain't gonna be easy. Garcia is gonna give him problems. Garcia's gonna give him issues, but I do think Thurman will win. But it's not gonna be easy, boy."
Well, closer to the time, we're going to get you back on for the predictions, and we're going to all lay it out.
We've got to have a good analysis of
but don't forget that we have to have an analysis of that's coming up soon. I'm trying to get there as quickly as I can. You just mute yourself there a second. We're moving on. I don't know if anybody saw this fight. I watched it on Box Nation today. Robert Stieglitz beating Mehdi Amar via a unanimous decision for the European title. I know that everybody's going to want to get in on this one, but please wait your turn, guys, one at a time. Discuss it. Stieglitz Amar, anybody? Kurt said I'll be back in a minute in the chat.
I watched a wee bit, I think it was on at the same time as the Ortiz fight against Scott. I think it was.
Yeah, I watched it this morning, Andy, on record,
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, he controlled the fight. I thought Stieglitz, there were a couple of decent wee rounds in here and stuff. Amar's team, I thought, were disgrace at the end when the scorecards got read out. I think it was basically going on, but I think it was 160, 112 across the board. I think one of the trainers was like, saying that's a disgrace, thumbs down and all that sort of stuff. I mean, the guy should have got knocked out just for fucking doing that shit because, as I say, Stieglitz was a kind of worthy winner. I thought his combinations were a lot crisper, a lot faster, and I just thought maybe that he's not really a great fighter, but I thought his experience basically at a kind of certain top level is basically come to fruition last night. So I thought he did look pretty decent at least.
Yeah, Stieglitz has been around for a while. I think he's knocking on 60 fights. He's held these versions of the world titles before. I can remember him fighting Alejandro Berrio back in the mid-2000s. He's been around for a while. Any word on this? Anybody else want to have their say before we have a few Twitter questions?
What was that fight, mate?
Well, I'm just asking if anybody else wants to talk about Stieglitz Amar.
Sorry.
Not unless he's in with anybody good.
No. Who's that chatting away in the background? Who's getting told off? Is that you, Adam?
No, Speedo's trying to poke his missus.
Speedo, can you not wait till the end of the pod?
It wasn't even me, you plonk.
He's poking his mask while watching, not watching cooking on his laptop.
It was me. I was trying to fuck this chick.
Oh god.
King Kong.
Right, Twitter
Say, put her on
question.
the line, mate. Put her on the line so we can chat to her.
I'm joking, mate. She's gone. She went at about 6:30.
So that's why that wee silly giggle was all about then. You obviously getting your balls sucked at the time.
Me,
Right,
I
good
fucking
rimming.
got drained. I got drained.
Like the Italian Marshes said, put yourself on mute. Right, Twitter questions. I just want to remind everybody at this time, the usual shit while everybody's listening, hopefully at home and online at the moment. Don't forget to go over and like the Facebook page, subscribe on YouTube, and leave us 5 stars because of the month of November. Nothing less than 5 stars is acceptable. Adam Smith's on the line. We've also got Donny, Dave Loback, Andy Patterson, Kurt Ward, Sebastian, Tommy, and myself, Steve Wellings. I hope you're enjoying it at home as much as I am here. Right, the ticking clock's coming out. I'm going to have to get tough with you, a couple of minutes at most on these. Adam Smith, first question to you from Lestin Venables. He says, I have a question, which is who is the best fighter who didn't get to his potential due to an injury? The best fighter who didn't reach his potential due to injury. I'm going to throw one out here. I'm not saying he's going to be the best fighter in the world ever, but I don't know if you remember this guy, Smido, Kevin Lear. We were talking about him on Punches from the Past the other day.
Aye.
Beat Michael Gomez, really talented British level fighter. Could have gone further. Had a bad shoulder injury. Anybody you can think of, Smid?
Oh,
Pirog.
Pirog. I don't know what happened to him.
Brilliant shout.
Yeah.
Draws could be forced to injure. It could be forced to retire at some point as well.
Can I just say something,
injury.
boys? Can I just say something, boys?
Briefly.
Pirog is a fighter that I didn't really like. I thought he was very hyped up at the time that people were high on him. But that boy, everybody talks about Golovkin right now, but the boy Pirog, Golovkin does well. Pirog, with the exception of his punching power, he doesn't have the strength, the raw physical strength that Golovkin has. But everything that Golovkin did well, Pirog did even better. If you allied Pirog's quality to Golovkin's punching power, you would have one hell of a fucking fighter. Do you know what I mean?
You know, in a way,
that would be one dangerous fighter.
Close to fighting, weren't they? They were close to fighting before Pirog retired.
I mean, it was on, wasn't it? And then he got that injury, and then it was off.
Steve,
and then Proxer stepped in.
Proxer, yeah.
Hold on, go ahead,
You know,
Smith.
in a way, given what's happened since this man retired, could you almost argue Vitali in a way, or was he not injured? Was he political?
I think it was a bit of both, wasn't it? He was going for the mayor of Ukraine or something, but I think injuries just caught up on him in the end. He had the back problem, which obviously a lot of injuries stem from the back issues, don't they? I think Vitali was just done. I think he achieved enough to be cut before his potential. I wouldn't put him in this category.
I wouldn't say potential, but he would have definitely had some big name fights out there, you know, especially when we see fighters going on until, you know, a middle age.
Well, I'm gonna go for one. I'm gonna hang him by the neck as injury. Edwin Valero. I'm gonna go for that.
The man Valero. I love you, K Weezy.
David Reed had the eye injury that kind of fucked up his career.
Yeah.
Michael Watson.
Yeah, well,
Can I just say about Michael Watson? Michael Watson is a great guy. I love Michael Watson.
Watson had already put in a few performances, hadn't he?
He's a nice guy.
Gerald McClellan as well.
Watson could have been the best of the three. You know, the 3 UK middleweights.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree.
He was a real quality boxer. He had a lot going for him, and he learned a lot from the McCallum fight.
Yeah, that's a good fight. If anybody hasn't seen it,
he really beat the shit out of Eubank, and it's all because he steamed in, and he thought Eubank. He thought he had Eubank where he wanted him, and Eubank got him. But apart from that,
Ben, he stopped Ben, didn't he, in 6 rounds?
He stopped Ben, man. Fucking you. Watson was a real guy. He was a good fighter, and I'll tell you what, he's one of the nicest guys in the world. Look at the recovery he's made. That's a real human walking miracle. What a guy! You've got to love him. You've got to love him.
I'm not saying he's brilliant, but Tony Jeffries, he got cut short with injury.
Yeah, he was struggling, wasn't he, Smido, before his career ended? If you remember, he had real hand problems. That was what forced it, but he wasn't looking good.
Yeah.
But good shout.
Jim Watt would say Ricky Burns is broke. He's worried about the jaw.
Right, Dave, hold on to that thought. I've got a question for you from Rocco. He says, what shows more superiority, a 120-108 shutout, or a first round KO? I know what my thoughts on this. What about you, Dave?
I'll take the KO, honestly. I think
Yeah.
that's
Really?
better. Stop him.
It depends. It depends on the situation. Sometimes the decision is better. Like Fury versus Vlad, that was impressive. Be real. If Fury had knocked out Vlad, it wouldn't be a big deal. It wouldn't be such a big deal with
Oh, come on, man.
No,
It does
seriously.
depend on the
Fury knocked out
situation.
Vlad.
Because
Two or three
I honestly expected Fury to decide to walk Vlad down because he was in Germany, and actually he was smarter than that. He was smarter than me. He chose to box Vlad. I didn't think he could win on the scorecards in Germany, but he did, and he even got a point deducted for nothing. Even after Vlad fucking headbutted him blatantly, Fury got a point deducted for nothing, and he still won. I thought that was a crazy strategy, but he pulled it off. I was expecting him to, because Fury's such a versatile guy, I was expecting him to walk Vlad down behind the high guard and beat him up like that. And I think he would have done that in Manchester. If that fight had happened, the rematch, I think he would have done that in Manchester.
The absolutely ideal performance for me is Hopkins Trinidad. Beat the shit out of him, 12 rounds, school him, break him down, and then stop him.
Well, you know what, actually, Dave, you've answered Rocco's second part of his question quite well there. He said, if you could choose a fighter that you like, say, for example, Kovalev, to beat a fighter that you hate, say, for example, Stevenson, which type of victory would be more fulfilling? And I think I agree with you, Dave. I think the 12-round punishment rather than the first-round knockout for me.
Yeah, I like Chino against Cloner. Glorious.
Yeah, exactly. If you'd have knocked him out in the first round, we wouldn't have enjoyed all that at the end, would we?
Pure six, mate.
Pure six.
Right. Donny, are you still with us? Because the people are demanding more Donny baseball here, and I want to give them what they want.
Oh, yeah. Well, we wouldn't want to let them down.
Feed them cock,
Yeah,
Donny.
definitely.
Go on, Donny, lad.
Right, Donny, the pressure's on you now. Question from Grant Riley. I haven't read this one out to myself before, so we shall be winging it together. Right, quick question for the panel. There are a few really good fights coming up at the tail end of this year and the beginning of next year. Just wondered if you, Donny, could do 3 fights that are currently not signed that you would like to see next year on a Christmas list of fights. By the way, great pod, love it. Thanks very much, Grant. Christmas list for you, Donny. 3 fights that aren't currently signed that you would love to see on any network, any fighters.
AJ versus Wilder. Golovkin, Canelo, obviously. And I know that it's not really at the top of my list, but I think it's an important fight that it eventually happens, just to see all the belts and everything with one guy. But it would be kind of nice to see the winner of Ward Kovalev fight Stevenson. Even though I know Stevenson has taken him out of irrelevance, I would just be nice to have the 4 belts and the lineage all intact in one man at light heavyweight, just from a sort of like boxing nerds point of view. So I guess those would be my 3.
Donny, an extension of that, is there a chance of that happening if Andre Ward was to win next week?
Well, of course, probably not, because of course Heyman and Rock Nation don't like each other. But if the demand was there, I mean, maybe that's the best. In other words, in terms of for Adonis Stevenson, what is he, about 41 years old? I mean, he only has maybe like 1 big money fight left. Who else would he fight, really? That's the only fight that really makes sense for him.
David, can I just say the only reason that fight would happen is because of Al Heyman. I mean, let's face it.
That's what I just said.
I know. I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you. The only reason that fight wouldn't happen is because of Al Heyman.
I'm being deadly serious. I don't even know what Donny Stevenson has done this year. Honestly, I couldn't tell you any of his opponents.
Thomas Williams, didn't they?
Yeah.
That was a decent
Well,
fight.
Wasn't that the weekend
who was an up-and-coming prospect? He was a good fighter. But, I mean, he hasn't really fought anybody of note, though, for a long time.
Exactly.
Right, Andy, this is a good question coming from Macho Grande. You're going to have to get your thinking brain on for this one. He asked it to us and to Next Big Pod as well. He said, a question for both pods. The Smith brothers have had 117 fights combined. Who has the single best victory out of those 117 fights? I think I know which way he's going with this.
Good question.
Shep responded, and I think I've been looking through their records. He's about
Who?
Sam. Yeah.
Next Big Pod has to enter this on Twitter because they never go live anymore.
Sam responded, and I think he's quite right. He said it's probably going to be Rocky Fielding, isn't it, with Callum, or Daniel Brisweiler. But really, it's got to be Fielding with Callum Smith, probably, Andy. Can you think of a better one? I mean, we're looking at Liam's victories over John Thompson. I mean, it's not great, is it?
I would probably say Callum Smith against Stieglitz. I mean, Stieglitz went to distance with Abraham, I'm sure, did they not?
Yeah.
Yes.
So at least he's been up at that level before. I mean, who was that other name you mentioned? Rocky Field, and he made it past Commonwealth level, for fuck's sake. You know, so I think it would need to be Stieglitz, and that's not saying much because Stieglitz was probably a gatekeeper of some sort, a poor one at that. So I would need to go with that one.
Good question, to be fair.
Yeah, that was a good question. Right, Kurt, coming to you. This is a question from Rav Hayer on the Facebook page. He says, can you pick your dream corner team if you're a professional fighter? You're allowed to pick up to 4 cornermen, including a cutman. If you're struggling to pick just one head trainer, then he will allow a Manny Stewart, Oscar Suarez type alternation. Who would you go for, Kurt? Cutsman for me would definitely be Mick Williamson. He seems to be very highly thought of.
Yeah, he obviously, we all know how great he is, especially with like Ricky Hatton when he obviously needed him in fights. But my trainer has always been Manny Stewart. I really like Manny. I mean, there's obviously been some great trainers through the years, but for me, Manny Stewart would be the trainer. I'm not going to say Joe Gallagher. He'll just miss out for me. But yeah, Manny Stewart. The others,
Freddie Brown, Ray Arcel.
It's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, it's one of these. Some of these questions you need to have a little think about it, I suppose. But yeah, Manny Stewart for me is the best trainer.
For me personally, and the way I operate, I'd get on well with Adam Booth, to be honest, because he's quite calm. I won't react to anyone shouting at me.
The thing is, Adam, you would need to be a certain type of fighter. You would need to be a very athletic guy, and you would need to punch hard.
Yeah,
that's the thing, man.
Adam
Booth only works well with a certain type of athlete. He's not a very good technical coach. He's not a good technique coach. He works well with a certain type of athlete.
Yeah, so you have to be receptive to his ideas because he sort of whispers the instructions to you, and you have to take it on board.
Yeah.
Eddie Futch, the legend, best.
Yep, good shout, good shout. Right, Seb, I'm going to save you for the Kovalev Ward chat, which is coming up next. So get all your coughing out of that throat of yours. Guru, are you back with us again?
No.
Tommy.
Guru.
Yo.
Tommy's there. Tommy, right. Chris Eubank Jr. has been tweeting or Instagramming or one of the things that the kids do these days, saying that he 5 years ago made my professional debut. It's been a hell of a journey so far, blah, blah, blah. Mad love for the fans. And he's tweeting to Eddie Hearn, Anthony Joshua, saying he wants to get onto the December the 10th undercard. Basically, he's burnt all his bridges and he wants back. Dippo Osho is asking on the Facebook page, he wants to know from you, Tommy, and you alone, do you think Eddie will entertain this? After all, Eddie does love the money.
That's it, mate. I was just going to say exactly that. I knew Eddie loves a pound note, so I wouldn't be surprised if he might not get on this undercard, but I wouldn't say he's burnt all his bridges. If it makes financial sense, you know Hearn's going to make a fight for him, isn't it?
Hearn said last night on the video, he said that it's up to AJ, it's AJ's money, it's AJ's card, which I think's a load of shit, but that's what he said.
Right, thanks very much, Guru. Now, you know what, Guru? I'm going to bring you in actually on this because this is a fight that you're going to next week, as far as I know, in the T-Mobile Arena. Let's have a look at the undercard briefly. I'm not going to say we're going to do it in depth. I just want to name who's on the undercard.
Steve, can I just say before you bring Tommy in, give me a lot of time on this one because I've got a lot of thoughts on Kovalev Ward.
I'm sure you have, sir. Don't worry, we're coming to you.
Fucker.
Right, we're going to the Guru first. Isaac Chilemba, Alexander Gvozdyk, Morris Hooker versus Darlis Perez, Curtis Stevens, James De La Rosa. Guru, we're not bothered about any of that stuff. You're not banked off your brain while those fights are going on. You don't care about any of that. It's the WBA, IBF, WBO title fight between Sergey Kovalev, 30-0-1, and Andre Ward, 30-0-0. Come on, Guru. Tell us. We've been flip-flopping backwards and forwards. Who's going to win this? Just the big fight experience.
Right. I'm going Kovalev. I thought about it for ages. Initially, I picked Sergey Kovalev to win the fight. I started watching Andre Ward again, and I just reminded myself how good the guy was. I've been back and forth. I've been watching Mir Kovalev. The guy's devastating. His powers really can knock you with either hand. He can hurt you with both hands. He's actually a fantastic boxer. He doesn't get enough credit for that. I'm like 51%, 49% on this fight, just leaning towards Kovalev. I think Kovalev can win a decision, and I think he can win by knockout as well. There's two avenues he can win the fight. I think Ward's only avenues to win it with points. That's probably how I'm just shading him. I will say though, if Andre can take the power, he'll win the fight. He'll win it on points. I can't wait for this. That's a fight I've been looking forward to for a long time. It's been agreed for about a year now, so the talking's finished. It's time to get it on.
Have you remembered what you have to do for me, mate?
Get you a t-shirt.
Good man.
I will do, mate. I know exactly what one you're looking for because I might probably get one myself.
Boss as fuck, eh?
Oh, minted, mate. I like the Kovalev gear, man. I like the ski one with the red writing as well. That's nice as well. But definitely that one that you like. That's probably the best one.
Tommy, you know when you're in Vegas, are you going to actually go to the fight, or are you going to pay to watch it on a cinema screen somewhere? I just wanted to confirm.
I'm going to fight.
Good. I'm glad you are, because you know we know some that have flirted with other podcasts that go all the way there and don't actually see the fight.
That's a casual thing to do, that, mate.
Yeah.
You know how I roll.
Yeah, good on you.
We know the way he rolls. Hey to Dave Lowback. We know the way he rolls. I've been flip-flopping myself back and forward in this fight. Andre Ward all along, although I want Kovalev to win, Dave. I've been thinking that Andre Ward's going to get it because he's just cute. He holds. He knows what to do. I'm swaying backwards and forwards. It's a genuine 50-50 fight. I'm going to stick with Ward. But Kovalev, I think he's a lot better boxer, a lot bigger puncher. A lot better boxer, than people give him credit for. I was going to add. I don't want to say he's a better boxer than Ward. Before I ramble on too much, Dave, 50-50. I can't split him, but I'm going to go for Ward. Who are you going for?
This is the best fight of the year. This is the best fight we've had in quite some time. It should be bigger. People should be like clamoring for this all over the Twitter and all that, but it's really going under the radar a little bit. I hope people turn up next Saturday to watch it. As far as who wins, I can't decide. I can't split them. I'm going slightly leaning towards Kovalev right now. I probably slightly prefer Ward to win. Nothing against Kovalev. I love both guys. I just like Ward a little slightly better. He's American, and I've followed his career longer. But I just think Kovalev's got the physical attributes in this fight, and that might be all that separates them. I mean, one punch from him can end it, whereas Ward is going to have to work. Ward's going to have to be perfect, almost perfect, all 12 rounds, and he does get caught maybe more in the past few fights than we did see him as a younger man before his layoff. So if he gets caught by even just like one of those inside uppercuts or an overhand right on the side of his head while he's smothering Kovalev, something gets through and he goes face down. I mean, he could be hurt. He could get up even and still get finished off. It's going to be tough for either guy. The Cedric Agnew fight, I always remember thinking that was how Ward would go after Kovalev. Very clever tactics, punching in bursts, but working well defensively through most of the round. I think Agnew may have even taken a round or two off of Kovalev, even though he ultimately got stopped. But I think that's something like that. It should be Ward's game plan, although definitely more work on the inside, more smothering work than Agnew did. If anybody can do this, it's Ward. Yeah, or if anybody in that kind of a 168-pound body could have the brain to do it, would be Andre Ward and Virgil Hunter. So we'll see. It's going to be great.
Kurt, I don't usually care about things like television or broadcasting rights, but Sky, the casuals, have jumped on the bandwagon and got this fight. I would have preferred Box Nation to have got it, but that's just the way it goes. If Sky want a fight, they get a fight. This is on normal Sky TV. AJ Molina's on pay-per-view. What type of crazy world, Kurt, is this we're living in?
Well, yeah, but we know what they're catering for. They're catering for the casuals, and this fight is more for the boxing fans, I'd say. But they're fighting for the best fight in the world, I'd say. And for once, Sky's hype about a fight is true. They're not just talking bollocks in this one. I mean, I'm a big fan of Sergey, obviously. Even though I've said a lot, I'm the biggest Ward fan. I respect him a lot. And he's came from he's had a bad life, and his style might not be for everyone, but why should he change his style to suit anyone when it's so successful? Very, very hard man to beat at his best. A few years ago, he take out Mayweather, he's the best fighter in the world. For me, it's what makes it even more interesting is the fact that he's fighting at a different weight class. He's fighting in Sergey's weight class. He's had injuries, inactivity. He hasn't had the best opposition leading up to this fight over the last few years, whereas in my opinion, the 24 rounds that Kovalev did with Chamber and Hopkins, no one's going to prepare him for Andre Ward, but that to me is better preparation than someone like Brandon, Sullivan Barrera. But for me, I think Ward is going to win this, and in a close points fight. I've seen people predicting that Ward's going to school him. You know, I know Ward's good, but I think Sergei's too good as well to be schooled by anyone. And I think Ward's going to have to dig deep. I can't see him going 12 rounds without being hurt at some point, because Kovalev's got that power where just cuffing shots seem to make fighters drunk, and they're all over the place. So I think he's going to have to dig deep. I think he's going to be hurt in the fight. He has lost a bit of something, which is natural through the injuries. I think he's more flat-footed now, but he's still got that really nice style where, you know, he judges distance well. The other fighter can't seem to get him, but he can land these punches. He uses feints really well. It's going to be a battle of the jabs. It's going to be a boxing match, I think. But with him facing Kovalev, he's going to have to be on guard for the whole 12 rounds, and I think he's going to nick a close points decision, in my opinion. And hopefully it's a good fight. But if it's a fight where a lot of people are probably saying not a lot happened, then you probably say Andre Ward won comfortably. And if it's a more exciting fight, then Kovalev's obviously much more in it. But it's a great fight. Glad it's made. I didn't think it would happen, because with boxing the way it's been, you know, people are getting injured and fights being called off. But great fight, and hopefully, you know, the loser of this won't just be written off, because in boxing, you know, a guy loses and suddenly, oh, he's not very good. If Ward beats him, it doesn't mean Kovalev's still not a very good fighter. It just means he's lost to a better fighter, and vice versa. You know, this is what we want: best fighting the best, and the loser, it shouldn't matter. You know, they've both gone for it, and maybe if we get a close fight or a good fight, there'll be a rematch. And you know, Adonis Stevenson can sit on the sidelines and watch while these two really go at it. You know, Ward and Kovalev have both proven they want to fight the best, and they've done it in their careers. And I'm just hoping for a good fight. And I think it's going to be a Kovalev stoppage if he does win it, and it's going to be a Ward points win. But I'm leaning towards Ward on points, and hopefully it's just a good one. Yeah.
Ward's going to have to dig deep, Andy. Kurt Ward certainly dug deep there with some top-class analysis as usual. As he alluded to...
Can I just jump in and say something quickly here? Like, everybody, like in boxing Twitter and that can, you know, that consider themselves kind of hardcore fans are all picking Ward. I could look fucking terrible here again if we'd be picking Kovalev here. I could get Kovalev in 8 or the next fucking year, man.
Well, mate, it's been 6 months since you made the quick pick, and the cunts are not letting you forget about it, man. So
Exactly. So
this is redemption. We're not going to let you forget this one.
Do the business. This is redemption here for the Guru.
No, you're not going to forget this one, Guru, if it goes wrong. Andy, as Kurt alluded to there, Ward's had injuries. He's been huge layoffs. He's fought Paul Smith, Sullivan Barrera, and Alexander Brand since he's come back. Whether that's good preparation or not, we don't know. A lot of people have been watching him and analysing him in those fights. He hasn't looked particularly good, especially in the Brand fight. I wasn't impressed with him at all. They think he's reluctant to throw the right hand. I think he's had surgery maybe on the shoulder and that. We've listened to Bryn talking about inside his camp. What type of Ward are we going to see here, Andy? Is it going to be a factor, all these different things, or is he going to be able to come out and fight like he's never been away from the ring?
Yeah, it's going to be a factor, mate. I mean, age, layoff, and the fact is the injuries, as you say. I mean, from what I understand, the surgeries that he's had has been quite serious. The fact is, he's facing an absolute beast up at 175. I mean, to be honest, this is his first legit test up at 175, and what a test it is. I'm on record when I was hosting that I would back Andre Ward all the way. Especially in this fight. It'd be interesting to see how Ward's defence is. I know Ward's got a great defence. He always, you know, if you look at his jab, he doesn't jab constantly to the face. He kind of like he tries to feint. Maybe he tries to feint with a jab to the head, but then brings it down low and goes his distance to try and just kind of fend off any incoming shots or just close the distance. He'll probably do that, but it's going to be interesting to see how he handles Kovalev's power, because I think what we saw against Rodriguez. Was it Rodriguez in his last fight? Brand. Who was the other person he fought? Barrera. I think Barrera caught him a couple of times. You could see him kind of basically the head snapping back a wee bit. If that's Kovalev, man, that head is in row C, because that guy is a ferocious puncher. And one combination that I'm looking forward to, actually, I don't know if anybody usually picks up on this, but it's I've actually asked a question about Kovalev before. Seb will remember this one. Is he a converted right-hander? I think he potentially could be a southpaw, but he's just, you know, like many of these Russian fighters and that. If you look at the Russian school and the Cubans and that, they always kind of converted their right-handers to southpaws. But I just think it's either he's a converted right-hander or he is so good balance-wise that he can throw that reverse 1-2. So basically, as if he stands in an orthodox stance, he actually throws the right hand first, finishes it off a left-hand jab, but it's fucking frightening. And if Ward can defend against that, I think Ward is pretty much home and dry. If he can take the power, if Tommy says as well, is if he takes the power, I think Ward's got it in the bag because he will just jab. He would maybe just think his way through the fight like he did. If you ever watch him in training or shadow boxing, that he's always constantly thinking about the next move. He's always, he's visualizing his opponent at all times when he's doing that sort of shit. This guy, he doesn't get involved in the hype. I just think mentally he'll be so prepared for it. But at the same time, I'm still 50-50. It's still 50-50 fight, but I'm on record saying that Ward will retire undefeated. And so either next week I'm going to be looking like a prediction god, or Tommy's going to be looking like a prediction god. So we just don't know how it's going to go. But this is the thing, because I say to these as well, when I got really pissed off when the Klitschko fight fell through, no, it was a Wilder fight against Povetkin, and then obviously Golovkin fell through. I've said to myself, right, okay, I'm finished with boxing. But then I said to myself, right, okay, if I get Kovalev Ward at the end of the year, right, good, I'll hang fire. We're almost a week away. There's been no shit, no injuries. They've been respectful to each other. So this is what we want. It's a great fight for us, hardcore fans, so to speak. Yeah. Is it going to be a great fight in the ring? I don't think it is going to be. It really depends how Kovalev approaches it. If he gives him too much respect like he did against Hopkins, I think we're into a bit of a snoozer. But if he comes out there looking to basically put it on him, I think we could get a stoppage at some point. But no, I think Ward's technical prowess, his ability to defend and make it dirty and ugly and stuff, it could prove dividends. But at the same time, as well, as again, he's fighting a brute. You just don't know if this grappling with a guy like Kovalev and his size, you just don't know if it's going to maybe tire him out at the end.
Is he going to have the same strength he had at 168? Because everyone says about Ward, he's not a big puncher. I mean, Frotch, I think, made a mistake. He's not a big puncher, so he isn't that strong. But he's a lot stronger. But against Kovalev, one, is he going to be as strong against Kovalev? And two, being in close with Kovalev, what is Kovalev going to be happy to clinch up at times and maybe get elbowed or headbutted? Kovalev just seems like the type who's he's not really going to be down for that, and he's going to be getting dirty himself. So that makes it all the more intriguing.
Donny, he's a thinker, Ward. We know that he can be in a few stinkers. I think if we have to err on one side of how we think the fight's going to go, Donny, I imagine it's going to be a boring fight. I hope not, but I can't see it being an exciting fight. What type of fight do you think it's going to be, Donny?
Steve, I was thinking the other day, first of all, just as a quick prequel to my answer to your question, if there was somebody in a coma in June of 2013, right, and they woke up 3.5 years later and they said, well, what's the world like? He said, well, actually, we have Andre Ward at a pound-for-pound fight against who? Sergey Kovalev? Who's that? He's the guy that fought in the Bethlehem Sands Casino last week. The trajectory of this guy's career has been amazing, and he's come such a long way in a short period of time. In addition, Tyson Fury, the gypsy kid who punches himself in the face? Yeah, he's heavyweight champion. and the guy who hosts the Celebrity Apprentice is president of the United States. So a lot can happen in 3 years. And I think Kovalev is on the rise, definitely. And I think that especially the only thing that even gave me pause about picking him was the fact that he took in the last fight. Who was it? Our buddy there. Kovalev's last fight. What's his name?
Chilemba,
thank you. I don't know why my man just drew a blank.
He's on the undercard, Donny, of this fight as well.
Yes, that's right. Yep. But I mean, when Kovalev took Chilemba,
Donny,
I expected him to.
Donny,
what?
Who beats Isaac Chilemba?
That's why I said our friend there. I couldn't think of his name. But yeah, I guess maybe Bellew versus Kovalev is next. Who knows? But anyways, I mean, the only thing that gave me pause about picking him was the fact that I thought that he should have stopped Chilemba, and I think Chilemba, while he didn't really, ever have a chance really of winning that fight, he in spots he did well, and I think that his style allowed him to prepare well for somebody like Andre Ward. Whereas I'm not sure that Andre Ward's been in with anyone worth a shit probably since Dawson, and even Dawson was, that was not a very good version of Dawson. So I mean, I think that maybe coming into this fight, just Kovalev, like I said, the trajectory of his career in the last 3 years has been amazing. He is, you know, he's on the rise. And I'm not saying that Andre Ward's on the slide by any means. He's still he's still at the top of his game. But I think that coming into this, he has all the right preparation to get this job done. And so for that reason, I'm going to go with Kovalev. But I mean, I'm not putting any real stock behind it. It's just a gut feeling. But I mean, this is as close to a 50-50 fight as we can get. And, I'm very happy to see it, obviously. And there's been, aside from the fact that they just demanded a few fights and a few paydays before the fight happened. So they each had the 2 fights before this fight that were televised by HBO, and they got the paydays for that. But, I mean, a year of buildup is for the pound for pound crown is a hell of a lot better than the 6 years of buildup the last time we had this. So here's to this fight. That's all I have to say.
Smido, Seb's chomping at the bit. I'm going to give him the floor last. He can have the final word on this fight. Just from your perspective, it is quite a remarkable rise for Kovalev, isn't it? I was listening to Kathy Duva being interviewed on the HBO boxing podcast recently, and nobody wanted to touch Kovalev. None of the American promoters, and she took a gamble on him, and it certainly has paid off. I mean, he's won a win away now from really pushing himself into the consciousness of sports fans all over the place, not just boxing fans. We're in a remarkable situation at the moment. HBO putting all their eggs into the basket of the Sergei Kovalev. This guy really is one win away from really announcing himself, and this could be the breakthrough into the next level for Kovalev, really. And as a Russian fighter, it's a strange position we find ourselves in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's highlighting the dearth of American boxing. That's it's still there once the leader, but now we're traveling east and even further east for the boxing stars of 2016. But I think what we have to remember here, I think this fight is happening on Andre Ward's terms. It's when Andre Ward has decided, he's the one that's kind of waited for this, and he's the one going forward with it. He's the one who's picked to have 2 warm-up fights as he grows into the weight. I think, having watched quite a bit of footage the last couple of weeks of these guys, and Kurt mentioned it earlier, I just think Andre Ward's that little bit cuter. And I think that he can go most of the fight, if not all of the fight, without taking clean shots. Somewhat like Hopkins, who never really seem, and Mayweather to an extent, who never really seem to get caught flush. They're always on the move. The shoulder's always there. They're always leaning in the right direction to get away from it. So I think that, as someone else has also mentioned, I think Ward's got the right preparation for this. We know he's had some serious surgery, but this, like I say, I think this is on his terms, and I think Andre Ward is ready for this. I think he's an absolutely superb boxer, and like Andy, not quite as strong as Andy, but like Andy, I thought that he could definitely go on to be and finish his career undefeated, with all possibilities. I think that Kovalev is a better boxer than we give him credit for. I am worried about his performance against Chilemba, despite what excuses we might make for him. But yeah, like I say, I think Ward takes it, and probably on points, which is an obvious pick. It is a 50-50 fight. Andre Ward's 4-5 with the bookies. Kovalev is 6-5. It's very close, but I think Ward's going to do it. I think he's without much question, he's the best fighter out there that adapts and can adapt and change his game plan in the ring. In a live environment. I think he's that good.
Right, Seb, I'm going to unleash you. I know that you're sitting behind that mute button, ready to go and say everything you want to say. I'm not even going to ask you a question.
Just say, Steve, we've got to go. We've got to analyse every part of this fight, because this is a fight of micro battles. This is a fight that is very dependent on micro battles, and there's so many areas to analyse. So let's give it a lot of time, yeah? We can't limit the amount of time we spend on this fight, because there's a lot to go. If you want me to talk about the jab, the counter punching, everything else, we've got to spend a lot of time on it. And I want everybody to join in. Do you know what I mean? I want everybody. We're going to really break this fight down, because this is the most important fight of the year. This is a fight for pound supremacy. Yeah. So, what were you going to say? Tell me what you were going to say.
Crack on.
Come on, Steve.
Crack on. I said I'm not even going to ask you a question.
All right, we're going to talk about the jab now. I think the best area to start with is probably the jab, because the jab is so important to both guys, and both guys are so good with it in their own ways. Yeah, both guys are so good with the jab in their own ways. It's kind of like we watched the the Chilemba-Kovalev fight. And it's as a result of that fight, it's kind of like a reflex feeling that if Kovalev had issues with Chilemba's jab, it stands to reason that Ward's jab is going to give him a lot of issues. So you think of Andre Ward, and you think of probably the most versatile jab in the game, right? The variety of ways in which he uses it. It can be a range finder for him, but he has many more uses for it. He can go up and down with it. He can throw it as an up jab. He can feint with you. He can feint with it. He can jab. He can stab you in the chest with it. He can double it. He can treble it up. But the thing about Ward's jab is, even when he isn't hitting you with it, he's measuring you, or he's throwing you off with it. He's always doing something with it. And I mean, that jab is constantly there as an irritant, as an irritating factor. And it's a relatively heavy jab too. I mean, Andy spoke about this. Andy said, he's a guy who's suspected, he said this in the chat many times actually, he suspected that Kovalev is a natural left-hander. You know, but we actually know that to be true of Ward. He is a natural lefty. He's a naturally lefty who boxes orthodox. So that accounts for the strength of SOG's left hand. Now, Kovalev is pretty good at countering over a jab with the right hand, but I can see that being nullified by the variety of Ward's jab, specifically his use of the up jab, as opposed to your textbook conventional jab, which he does also use. But the up jab is really the punch for an opponent like Kovalev. You know, the punch for a guy like Ward to use against Kovalev. It's a great punch if you're not the rangy guy in the matchup, because Kovalev is the rangy guy here. So if you're in against a guy who's prone to throwing right hands, a rangy guy who's prone to throwing right hands, a posture of it is you invite him to throw a right hand. But as he's sizing it up and ready to throw, you come with that up jab, and then you can follow maybe with a right hand to the body or head. And if you ever watch Andre Ward, you see him do that a lot. If you watch him on the heavy bag, you see him working on that punch over and over and over. He'll throw that up jab and then screw the right hand into the body. And then you see that applied in the fights, like the La Bamba fight, Edwin Rodriguez, for instance. Ward has a really refined up jab. I think it's the best in the sport. You know, if Floyd was still active, I would still say that Ward's up jab was the best in the sport. I really like watching Ward use that punch. And it's actually Tommy. Tommy is a student of Jeff Mayweather. I know he is. I've seen Tommy mention Jeff Mayweather's videos, and Jeff Mayweather loves that up jab. He talks about it a lot. You know,
spear jab.
Yeah, and the spear jab. I'm going to get to that, man. I'm going to get to the spear jab. But as for Kovalev's jab, now that's a very heavy jab, one of the strongest in the game today. That's one of the heaviest jabs in the game today, and that's actually everybody knows I'm a Golovkin critic, but that's one thing I will give to Golovkin is that the force of his jab has never been in question. You know, but Kovalev's jab is right up there in terms of it being used as an actual weapon of destruction. It's that kind of jab where when it lands, you can see its force in the reaction of the guy it's landing on. You can see it in their face, their facial expression. It's a well-timed jab. And though it's not as technically versatile a jab as Ward's, he can mix it up in the ways he uses it. For instance, he doesn't always just throw... You guys hear me still?
Yep.
He doesn't always just throw 1-2. Sometimes he's going to throw that 1-2, then he's going to come with a double jab behind it. So it's a lot more difficult to read and evade, and you'll need that in this one. Like Kovalev, if he's to beat Ward, he really needs to vary things up. He really needs to vary his things up. He's going to need that, because if he's throwing a basic 1-2 all night, Ward is going to start slipping to the outside and getting him with the spear jab. But if Kovalev can get a well-timed jab going in this fight, that's massive for him. That's a real big deal for him. If Kovalev can get his jab going in this fight, that's huge. And because I think Ward's use of the jab is so constant and so varied that you don't even really question whether or not he's going to be able to get his jab going. You just expect it. Do you know what? You guys know what I'm talking about. With Ward, you expect his jab to be a factor. You just expect it. It's what you expect from him. So the question is about, can Kovalev resist that hypnotizing effect that Ward's left hand has on fighters? And can he jab with him and compete with him in a battle of the jabs? I think a lot of attention generally gets paid to Kovalev's jab to the body. And that's fair enough.
I believe he broke Cedric Agnew's rib with it.
Well,
He
listen,
ended the fight with it.
listen, Dave. When he points that jab downstairs, it's more than just a strategic punch. It's a debilitating punch. But in this particular fight, I don't think the jab to the body is going to be a factor in his favor, and I'll explain why when if we get to the subject of controlling range. I'll tell you why I don't think Kovalev's jab is going to be a big factor in this fight, at least to the body. You know, if he focuses on using the jab as a point scoring weapon, I think the jab can be a factor for Kovalev, and I think that's where he needs to concentrate on the jab as a point scoring weapon. I don't think a lot of people have speculated about that jab to the body, and I don't think it's going to be a big deal. When we talk about control of range, we talk about the issue of controlling range. That shit incorporates feints and footwork. And that's areas that both guys are very competent in. And when it comes to Ward, you're talking about a master of the feint. He's just going to feint away with that jab. And it just hypnotizes a lot of guys. It puts them to sleep. And I think with the casual fans, it puts them to sleep too. You know, but at the end of the day, this is boxing. You know, it ain't, when it comes to a guy like Ward, he ain't trying to excite you. He's trying to win the fight. He can use that feint jab to bait you in and keep baiting you. And when you finally bite on it, you can end up being baited into something that is ineffectual or clumsy. And he's going to capitalize on it at that moment because he's thinking moves ahead of you. And add to that, he's a fast guy. You know, quickness isn't just about your physical quickness. It's about the mind, the quickness of the mind, how far ahead you're thinking. He's thinking very fast ahead, and he's a physically quick guy. So everything is fast with him. You know, I mean, you take, for example, the jab to the body of Kovalev. We just spoke about that. I just said earlier, I don't think it's going to be a factor in his favor in this matchup because Ward's feet are going to be keeping him just out of the edge of range. He's constantly measuring and annoying and baiting Kovalev with that left hand. And Kovalev is going to think of a reliable weapon. He's going to jab to the body. And because of Ward's mastery of range with his feet, Kovalev's going to have to reach. And he's going to fall short. And that allows Ward to capitalize with a clean right hand or a spear jab, while Kovalev is in that vulnerable moment where he's open to attack. But I think if we get onto this further down the line, we'll get more into counter punching. Sorry, guys. We'll get more into counter punching further down the discussion.
Right.
But as far as the
is that the jab? That's the jab then.
As far as the Kovalev jab to the body, as far as his jab to the body, a lot of people have speculated about the jab to the body. I don't think it's going to be a factor in Kovalev's favor. I think if he jabs to the body, he's going to be punished. As I've just said, I think that gives Ward a lot of options. Everybody talks about the Kovalev jab to the body because it's so punishing. But I don't think, I'm not ruling out Kovalev's jab per se, but to the body, I don't think that's a punch he's necessarily going to thrive with, because that gives Ward options. So when we get to counterpunching, I'm going to talk about that. You know.
Well, I don't want to cut you short, but do you want to get to counterpunching now?
Yeah, let's talk about counterpunching. What are you thinking of, Steve?
Well, I don't really know, to be honest. I'm thinking that Ward will probably be doing more counterpunching.
They're two different kind of counterpunchers. They are both great counterpunchers. Kovalev is a really quality counterpuncher, but there's a difference between how they counterpunch. With regard to counterpunching, if we look at the difference in their counterpunching styles and the counterpunching options that are potentially there for both guys, there are a few things on both sides that you can see. And I've thought about this fight a lot, which is why I wanted in on this particular discussion. I've thought about this fight a lot, and there's so many areas that you can cover with this fight.
I think you've thought about it more than all of the rest of the panel combined.
Oh boy, this is why I wanted a big space for this fight before the fight actually happens.
Seb, this is getting like when Father Ted won the Golden Cleric. And
with regard to counterpunching.
Next, wankers.
There are a few things on both sides that you can see. Ward is more the type counterpuncher who's going to make you commit to something and then capitalize. He's more like a Mayweather kind of counterpuncher, you know what I mean? Whereas Kovalev is more the type counterpuncher who's looking to time your punches and punch with you. He's looking to punch with you, and he's so good at that. So they're both excellent counterpunchers, but they're quite different in how they go about their business. So Ward, he's going to be looking to beat Kovalev to the punch from the outside. But at the same time, he's also going to be looking to walk Kovalev into situations that he can capitalize on. He's going to be looking to make him commit first.
Ward's going to be, he's going to be looking to be at distance or up close, isn't he? He's not going to be looking to be in the 3/4 range.
Yeah, he's not going to be looking to be in the middle. He's going to be when it comes to counterpunching, preferably, he's going to be looking to make a guy miss first, and then he's going to be looking to make him pay. Whereas Kovalev is looking to, all right, give me an example with regard to Kovalev. He's going to be looking to land his right hand to the body, and that would be a good investment for him. But there's an opening there for Ward as well in that scenario because he has a real good left hook. And when Kovalev throws his right hand to the body, Ward can make him pay a cost for it by countering with the hook. And I remember Ismail Silak, for the three minutes he lasted before he got concussed. You know, he was actually able to counter Kovalev that way with the left hook when Kovalev threw his right hand to the body. Another counterpunch for Ward, and this one has to be real fast. And this is a Hopkins one. Hopkins uses this one. He has to slip the jab to the outside and then come with a real fast right hand left hook combination, with the emphasis on the left hook being the important punch in the combination. And that's going to knock Kovalev back in his tracks for a second or two. And as he's resetting, Ward should come over the low left hand, because Kovalev keeps his left hand low, right? He should come over his left with a right hand and roll under and get out. And that's a Hopkins move. I actually saw Hopkins do that in the Kovalev fight. It was one of the few moments that Hopkins had success. And Ward's got the kind of speed. He's got the kind of speed and timing to pull that off. But returning again to Kovalev's jab to the body, I mentioned earlier about how that offers counter-attacking opportunity for Ward, because he can make that quick and subtle alteration of the range to make you fall short and then pop you with his spear jab, which knocks the fire off balance. And the spear jab is a kind of blinding punch as well because of the way it's thrown. It really focuses on that whole optical area of the face. Well, when you land it, you're looking to push that right into the whole eye area of the face. And that's
Seb, not that I want to rain on your parade or anything, but have you taken into account the fact that this could end early, like in the first round or
Yes,
something?
I have. The thing is, because of the power of Kovalev, this is a fight that I mean, I'm picking Ward here, but it's with a caveat. It's with a caveat that you look at if we were to, I don't think we have time to really break it down in every single area. But
we really don't. I'm sorry, we really don't.
If you were to break it down in every area of this fight, you would see that both guys are closely matched in every area, or in most areas. But you would give Ward a slight edge that gives him you would assume that Ward can win an 8-4, 9-3 type of fight. You know, maybe 8-4 at most, but you would think Ward has an edge in enough areas that you would think that he can win this fight about 9-3, 8-4 at most for Kovalev. But then again, there's this equalizing factor that is the power. And Kovalev can hurt you with glancing punches. He can hurt you with punches that look innocuous, that don't look like a big deal. You know what I mean? So that's the equalizing factor. You think Ward should be able to do enough to win a 9-3 fight. And I am picking Ward. Provisionally, I'm picking Ward. Let it go on record that I'm saying Ward will win this fight. But I won't be surprised if Kovalev stops Ward early or late. It really isn't a surprise because the power is that significant a factor, and he's not his puncher's chance isn't just an average puncher's chance, because he can set his punches. He can set his punches up. He knows what he's doing in there. But when it comes to counter punching, just to close my little section of this, we were talking about counter punching, and Kovalev is good at counter punching. He's good at true counter punching, which is timing and punching with the guy. You punch in the split second after that guy lets go. Reading comprehension. Kovalev's very good at it. This is an area that both guys are very skilled in, is actually reading the other guy. And this is why this fight is a fight of micro battles. Really, there's so many little micro battles going on in the fight. And that's why if we really, truly wanted to break down the fight, it would take a long time. But we've seen Kovalev hurt people with a right hand as they're leading with a hook. So Andre Ward needs to avoid leading with that left hook, which he is ordinarily good at. But we've seen that Kovalev can counter that with his right hand. We've seen that against Silag. I mean, he badly hurt Silag. If Ward's going to lead with the left hook, he needs to be flawless with his timing. And that is a strong point of his. His timing is impeccable much more often than not. But with this guy, Sergei Kovalev, who can punch so devastatingly, it has to be on point every time. And for the same reason, I mentioned this earlier when we were discussing the jab. Because Kovalev is very good at countering over the jab with the right hand, Ward needs a lot of variation in his jab and not to throw a conventional jab all the time. And the up jab, I mentioned, it's a great tool for him in this fight against a tall and rangy fighter. So Ward can adjust his height and he can get low, and that up jab kind of changes the game for him a bit. But again, that jab variety is something that Ward practices anyway, so you expect it of him. So those potential counters are there for Kovalev.
Yeah.
The right hand over the lead left hook, the right hand over the conventional jab. The opportunities are going to be limited. And if you let me back in again later, I'll talk about switching and shifting, and I'll talk about other shit that's available to Kovalev. But
I don't want to sound harsh, but I'm not sure how much of a later there's going to be, to be honest with you.
All right, I'll let someone else in, because
How much of a chance does anyone give of Ward hurting, stopping, or dropping Kovalev? Because the fact is, the guy hasn't been hit much.
No, I wouldn't be surprised, Dave. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think Kovalev's been dropped. Caparello dropped him. Didn't Agnew drop him as well?
That was more of a balance knockdown, and it was to the body.
He can go down. He can be hit. He can be backed up.
Kovalev is glass to the body, man. I'm telling you, he does not hide it well when he gets tagged there. I've spoke to many people about this in the past before, and Ward, as I say, is good left hook, great left hook. If you can find a home for it, you might just see some visible winches coming off Kovalev. But I agree with Donnie. I don't believe he'll get stopped or knocked down or anything like that. If he does get knocked down, it'll probably be a tangle of the feet, or as what happened against it was it Caparello or Agnew, maybe a balance issue. I
don't think it's a 0% though, Donnie. I agree. I know what you're saying. I'm not saying it's a great chance either, but you never know. Stranger things have happened.
I just feel like he has not been hit much at all by anybody clean to the face. I guess Pascal probably hit him with the best stuff. Never really seemed to shake him up, but a shot that he doesn't see coming. I mean, I could see him going down, even if it's just a flash knockdown.
Ward doesn't seem to be the puncher, though, does he? I mean, he took how many rounds to beat up Paul Smith? Brand was there. I mean, it could happen because it depends. Kovalev will be looking for the knockout when he'll be coming forward, but I don't see it myself. I think he's cautious and he hasn't got the punch power, in my opinion, to stoppage. But I agree with Andy. I think if he is going to get it, it's going to be the body, target the body. I think Kovalev will take the power upstairs.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kurt. Just for the record, I'm not suggesting for a second that that's going to happen, but I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised. You never know in this sport. And like you say, Dave, if Ward starts landing the big punches, Kovalev's not used to getting backed up. He might start getting ragged and throwing a few shots. Ward could catch him coming on the inside. You just never know. You've got a Bellew of the Week, Dave. That's fine. We're going to move on to Bellew of the Week actually now. What time are we looking at, guys? 10:05? We've been going for about 2 hours or so. I am going to go with the Bellew of the Week. I know that we're having a good discussion and all that about Kovalev Ward. I know, Seb, you want to say more and etc., but we've had about 40 nominations and entries for the Bellew of the Week, so I don't want to leave this hanging for too long. So I want to go through it as quickly as I can, guys, and maybe have a bit of discussion at the end if we have time about Box Nation and BT Sports, because that's something that's happened this week as well. So we shall see. Yes, Dave, I am going to ask everybody's prediction on Ward Kovalev before we finish. Don't worry about that. Right, let's get on with the Bellew of the Week. First nomination for Simon Fletcher. He tweeted at Dave Allen saying, if a fight between you and Luis Ortiz happens, I'll be putting a few quid on you winning, fella. Was not impressed with Ortiz at all. Okay. Nomination for Tony Robinson. Aside from getting caught cold, Anthony Joshua would annihilate Ortiz. And now this is the sticking point. Far too slick for him. All right then. This is a good one from Daniel Stembridge. He said, is Ortiz all that he's hyped up to be? No. Is he too old and too fat? Yes. And now he goes off on a bit of a mad one now. He said, Wilder knocked out Smith in 1 round. Derek Chisora finished Smith in 6. Joshua and Wilder would make a monkey out of King Kong. Who the hell is this Smith guy?
Whoever he is, he's better than Scott.
No idea. Nomination from Leon. He sent one in for Brian King. Apparently, Brian King was slagging off MMA or something, saying boxing has failed American footballers in their top 10. And then the guru jumped in and said, name 10 MMA fighters. I think the guru iced Brian King there, according to this one.
I'll tell you one thing, actually. I think Tommy put out a good tweet the other day, actually, that, in fact, it was this morning, actually, that McGregor winning last night. He says that last night was a win for boxing in the octagon, because it just showed you that if you had the basic stand-up skills, right, and you could actually judge distance and not get taken down and stuff, you were going to win the fight. That's what you proved and done it.
Mm-hmm. Nomination for Matchroom. The Matchroom judges strike again. Corruption, says Dippo Osho, so we're nominating them. Johnny Nelson has got a nomination as well. He says, why is he trying to justify Malik Scott's performance, asks David Martin. Apparently, Johnny said he was caught between pride and fear. He thinks he's having good rounds here. He was defending the indefensible, proper bell end. I don't think anyone will disagree with that. Johnny Nelson doesn't get too much love around these parts. Nomination for Josh Foster. He said, Eddie Hearn, have you watched the Gavin McDonald fight back again? If so, has your view changed? But he tagged in Gavin McDonald instead of Jamie McDonald. So that's a nomination for Matt Roberts there rather than Josh Foster. I'm getting in a bit of a muddle here. Right, who cares? Nomination from John Swan for all the hardcores. Andy, you'll like this one. All the hardcores who prematurely declared Hype Job Ortiz as the best heavyweight in the world before he'd even proved anything.
Fair enough.
Nomination for Josh Roberts. He said Floyd Mayweather would have no chance against McGregor. Conor would box his head off. Simple. Following on from that theme, Skip Bayless. Apparently he's a well-known guy on the American TV circuits. Conor McGregor definitely would last 12 rounds with Floyd Mayweather. He would hit Floyd and he would hurt him, even if he didn't win.
Oh, just talking about his wee sidekick, actually, Stephen A. Smith.
Yes.
This Chris Cyborg, I think she's a female boxer or an MMA fighter, I think she tweeted.
MMA.
Just watched USA broadcast of my homie Manny Pacquiao win, and Stephen A. Smith did a great job calling a big boxing fight with Tim Bradley Jr. Pure AIDS.
This one's actually for Anonymous. This next one, my friend Joe O'Neill sent it in, but he blanked out the person's name because it was on Facebook, which is fair enough, but it was a belter. He said, this King Kong is a joke. That's why he's in his mid-30s with no amateur pedigree, no professional pedigree. This punch bag, he's a punch bag and a big scalp for AJ, who I think is class with a glass jaw. This is a good one too. This guy has actually handed himself in. He's come to the asylum and handed himself in. Harry Chandler. He put before the fight, Ortiz is the Dortmund of the heavyweight division, overrated. Malik Scott to KO him. And then afterwards, he nominated himself for Bellew of the Week.
Oh, fair play.
Fair play, Harry. Handed himself in there. Good lad. Barry Awad, Mr. Galahad himself. Sosa versus Smith equals Gatti versus Ward.
Yep. There's a pity they couldn't say something about fucking Scott against Ortiz, eh?
Yeah, exactly. This one's for Matchroom Boxing on Twitter. They said, round 8, Smith chopping away at Sosa and in the driving seat, you feel? And Ross Bentley, this was brilliant. He came back and he said, nobody is feeling that. Delete this tweet. That was a good response. I call that one.
In the driver's seat.
Smido, who's jumped off the call, sent us this one. Bellew of the Week nomination for Nelson Vasquez, who actually gave Malik Scott a round. Nomination for Ian Crossling. He said, I'm not impressed with this Ortiz one bit. At Dillian White beats him, in my opinion. # Team Body Snatcher.
Did anybody get Coogan Cassie's deliberate attempt?
No, I haven't watched one of his videos. Oh, no, I did. I watched the Paul Smith video. That was the only one I watched.
I've been busy this week. I've not seen much of IFL.
Yeah, I've been busy as well.
Nobody sent any in, so we'll have to...
Has anybody in the chat got this? Anybody got the chat about Coogan?
I think I got 2 or 3 possibilities, but I didn't know. I really don't know if they were legit or not. He said something about some fighter being like the goods, and I honestly forget who it was. It didn't seem like it was Belly the Beat worthy though.
Right, we'll take a look this week and try and put Coogan up for next week then.
Yeah, we'll try and find out if anyone on Twitter or the Facebook page or on the chat there heard it, then they can send it in to us, Tommy. Nomination for Dave Allen. He said, I hope I get the fight with Ortiz. He's no Superman. I would put it on him. Nomination for Malik Scott for walking out with the Cuban flag. I'm not sure if it was his fault, but we'll put him down anyway.
Fuck's sake.
Ruru McGonigal, my friend, sent in a nomination for Andre Ward. He said on the Sky preview, they just don't give me soft touches, do they? Just after fighting Paul Smith and Alexander Brand recently.
Jesus Christ.
Ricky Gravel sent in this one for Paul Smith, who said someone had just had a worse round. Worse is not a word, says Ricky. Quite right. Chad Hogan on Twitter.
Show.
We're doing grammar now. We're doing grammar, Kurt. Chad Hogan sent one in. He said Bellew thinks that Murray beats Triple G or Saunders, and Paul Smith thinks Murray beats the super middleweight champions. So a nomination for the two of them. We're not even hot. We're just a bit halfway through. Nomination. I know they've got 40 odd tonight, haven't they? Nomination for Matt Gibson. He said, at Paul Smith Jr., I hope you get a world title shot again soon. You deserve it. You're good enough and a true warrior.
Oh, I've seen this one. That was one. Brian King sent me that one, actually. I think there's another response to it. Anyway, I hope you get a world title shot again soon. You deserve it. Yes, you're good enough and a true warrior. Fucking.
But what a mad coincidence is that we get so many more Belly other weeks when Johnny Nelson, Paul Smith, Bellew and the Sky broadcast team are doing like a 3-hour show.
Well, here, Kurt, your work's going to be cut out this week because Niall O'Connor have said, can you add the I don't bow down to no bitch to the Bellew of the week introduction? Apparently Tony came up with that one.
Yeah, it can be done.
We'll get that one in. Nomination for HBO Boxing, they tweeted out, watch the video as Luis King Kong Ortiz makes weight ahead of his heavyweight clash on Saturday night.
They were surprised he made under 250 then, were they, as well?
It was touch and go, but he dragged himself down, Kurt.
Yeah, that's why he looked so poor then, weight drained.
Yeah. I put this one in myself, nomination for the PBC. They sent out an email and it said, knock out your post-election blues with Garcia versus Vargas this Saturday night.
Oh, fuck's sake. Trump got in. Let's go and watch Danny.
Deport Danny Garcia. Oh, wait, he's in Puerto Rican. Never mind.
I like to nominate the spear jab.
Who's that? What's that?
Just the jab.
Oh, the jab.
Can we talk about the spear jab?
I knew I'd pull him out with that comment.
Right, nomination for Kell Brook. Apparently he's going back to 147, but if anyone saw the photo of his little double chin, he looks like he's on his way up to light heavyweight. I saw that one myself. Actually. Stephen Smith believes all 4 Smith brothers can win world titles.
AIDS.
Bellew of the Week nomination, who sent this in? Chad Hogan. Paulie for saying that Donaire had more talent in his pinky than Manny had in his entire body. Also said Paul Smith got robbed by Abraham.
Definitely agenda there, like with Paulie Malignaggi and Manny Pacquiao. Like.
We have a third one for Malignaggi as well that the Guru put in. I'm going to be reading that one out in a minute. Jordy McDonough sent this one in, nominee for Jimmy Lennon Jr. for his speech prior to the Monaco press conference. Go ahead and have a listen. I wasn't able to find that one in time, Jordy, but I know that you did send that one in, so thanks. Nomination for Malik Scott for the pout. Kurt, you were saying about this one earlier, the dressing gown and cup of tea.
Yeah, it was a bit like a dog pan shoot. He was in a gown and a cup of tea. It was strange from a very strange man.
Did he have that stuff on his lips that kind of like plums his lips up, so to speak? You know, like.
I think so.
I always put these on the Facebook page next week, so if anybody wants to see them, you'll be able to see them there if you go ahead over to there. Kell Brook is nominated by you, Andy. You sent this one to me. I inspired Pacquiao to return. We should unify.
He chased him when he was in his prime and that, and he's no, was it? He was mandatory to Manny Pacquiao, and his old man kept fucking about with it or something, eh?
Yeah.
Let's unify. Fucking hell. I mean,
I'd love to see that fight. I'd love to see.
How is a guy who's absolutely draining himself with an inch of his life to make 147 going to hang with Manny Pacquiao? Seriously, even that version of Pacquiao would be too much for him.
Yeah, Pacquiao's still the best welterweight in the world.
Yep.
Probably going to get stick for that. I was getting stick for my Garcia prediction earlier. But you know what, guys? Like I say, with everything, I'll put my neck on the line. I'll hold my hands up if I get it wrong. I get more wrong than right, so I'm happy enough. Right, Dominique Henry, another friend of mine, sent this one in. Bellew of the Week from Dave Caldwell. He said, on Scott Quigg, he's got a name, a crowd, and the British public love him.
How can the British people... The British public... He's got half the British public blocked on Twitter, man. Come on, fuck yeah.
Who, Paul Smith?
No, it's Quigg.
Scott Quigg.
Aye.
This is a good one. I like these ones. Jones sent this one, and it's similar to the Scott Carl Froch one the other week. Mike Coppinger appears to have been hacked, and I'm always a bit dubious about putting these one up because on Twitter it could happen to any of us, but he's been hacked and he's been sending out some quite funny tweets. He says, Mike Coppinger tweeted last week, naked blog, fat girls, beautiful girls, video gallery. And he said, there's someone hovering around in the background, so I'm not be able to read the other one out, but I'll put them up on the Facebook page next week. You'll be able to see that one if you know what I mean, Tommy. Yeah, I'll not be reading that one out. Paulie Malignaggi, Tommy, for his views on Maggie Thatcher. What was that all about?
I don't know, man. Probably just he said a brain fart there, saying that she was some sort of strong leader in country first, and that we all know about it. Only Thatcher. Thatcher was Thatcher first. She's one of the most despicable humans in history. I'd put her actually at number one above Adolf Hitler. So,
I swear to God, there's actually a petition going on about in this country actually that Scotland wanted a day of a national holiday just to celebrate her death.
Yeah, but hold on, Tommy. You put her above Hitler. Does she deserve to go above Adelaide Bird?
No chance. No. No, after that disgusting Hopkins Kozagi still card. 114, 113, man. I didn't even want to start on that. That was just AIDS. That 116, 111 Kozagi was a changeable card that night.
She's the female Hitler, Adelaide Bird.
She scored it way too close. It should have been like 115, 112 Hopkins.
Dave, I'm going to ask you one question. How did you score that fight live?
I didn't watch it live.
How did you score that fight the first time you watched that fight?
First time I watched it, I had it to Kazagi. Back when I was a casual.
Shut up, you're still a casual.
I was just... I was swayed by the commentary because they were biased.
Hater Dave's been outed as a casual. Nomination from Joe Ringo. We're near the end, guys, don't worry. A bit of mathematical problems from Box Nation here. 23 days to go until their next card, a little less conversation, although it was posted on the 9th of November. WBC, the World Boxing Council, this is how bad the Danny Garcia fight was. Even they don't care. They tweeted out Danny Garcia versus Sammy Garcia this weekend in a 10-round bout.
His little brother would be more competitive, I reckon.
At least he wouldn't quit on him.
Tony Thompson, at Anthony Joshua, when you're done playing games with Molina, call me. The fans demand you fight someone real, bro. It's time to take the kids' gloves off. All right, Tony.
It would probably be his best win.
Probably would be, actually. What about this one, Dave? You're going to love this one, the Boxing Kingdom. This was at the beginning of the week, so people have probably forgotten about this.
Oh, my God, this is fucking quality.
Well, this guy
He says... Yes, Andy, he says... Parker versus Ruiz Jr. will be in Auckland. Global audience expected to be over 500 million. And Boxing Nut, first comment from Boxing Nut says, Bellew of the Week.
Did you actually read the comments after that when he was called on it? That he started breaking it down like 100.
Yeah, he breaks it down. Tommy, I've got it here. He says, okay, probably 1 million in New Zealand, 50,000 in Australia, 20 million in Mexico, Canelo who, 1 million in the USA, 20 million in Europe, so probably closer to 50 million then.
Well, listen to me. Why the fuck is Joseph Parker not earning mega millions? And why is his promoter having to go to the government begging? I mean, begging on their knees, gobbling the government trying to get money for that fight.
Don't try and justify it.
If he's getting 500 million viewers, by the way, there must be fucking something far wrong. If his promotional company needs to go begging for money. Look,
some exposure for Burger King, eh?
Oh, what? I suppose that's true.
This is a good one from Kieran Baker. This is the first one on the list. He tweeted at Anthony Joshua directly and he says, apologies, can't attend your fight on December the 10th. The wife is away watching James and the Charlatans in Liverpool and I'm on dad duty. Anthony didn't respond. Anthony didn't respond. He was obviously too upset, Andy.
He was actually looking for a retweet there and he got owned. They'll do anything for a retweet, these cunts.
Right, I'm going to go for the Boxing Kingdom. Andy, who are you going for?
Yeah, Boxing Kingdom sounds good, mate. I mean, that was just complete utter mind fuckery, that.
Boxing Kingdom for me.
Tommy for the Boxing King.
I just wanted to quickly nominate Malik Scott's corner. They had this stool that was like 3 times as big as the normal.
It was a bar stool.
Yeah, it was a bar stool made out of like shiny aluminum.
Every time they put it over the top rope, every time they put it over, it nearly poked the trainer's eye out. Did you see it?
They couldn't get it over. That was that big. They were struggling.
Thank fuck they never had that stool in the corner of the night. Quig knocked out. Who was it? Still.
Yeah, who's the Irish fight? Remember the 2 Irish guys?
Oh, yeah, I was at that. That was fight against O'Sullivan. I think what it took.
Fitzgerald.
Fight against Fitzgerald. Sorry.
That night, Spike was dead, man. Fuck me.
They probably wouldn't have been able to lift it up. To be fair, though, it was so big.
that was inches away. I managed to find it. I watched that back about 4 or 5 times before I found the guy that actually done it. Because if you look at the shot, right, all you see is this fucking stool coming lobbing right out of the fucking far end of the ring. But it's obviously heavy, so the guy that threw it's obviously had to kind of get a swing at it. So obviously the weight is just kind of pushed him backwards. He just appears into the shot with this red fucking top on, eh?
I think it was Fitz's brother, wasn't it, who threw it?
Was it? I didn't know who it was, mate.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that when I saw that. That was wild. Right, who's disappeared? Somebody's dropped off. Sorry to see the back of you. Who's yet to... Kurt, have you nominated anybody?
Mine is just going to be James McDonald, just saying he was in total control of the fight after the fight. His face was absolutely battered, and he just thought everyone's saying he lost.
And who are you actually picking?
Yeah, the Boxing Kingdom for that stupid Parker. He's obviously mentally ill. He must be.
I asked one of them to come on the once actually because he's an Australian boxing expert. Something tells me he ain't going to be coming on here anytime soon.
Well, if he comes on, 250 million listeners will probably get. So, get him on.
Win-win for us, isn't it?
It's a formality, Seb. But who are you going for anyway?
Which fight, bro?
No, value of the week. You going for Boxing Kingdom?
Value of the week? Yeah. I didn't even listen to the options. I want to go back to Kovalev.
Seb, hang on a minute. Are you telling me that I've sat here and talked all that time and you weren't even listening? How could that happen on this podcast?
I'm high as fuck. I came on here for Kovalev Ward and we spent like 20 minutes on it, bro.
That's all I can give you, man. I need to get to work in the morning. I need to get up.
It's the fight of the year, bro. Let's do it. Let's get
Listen, Seb, you know what? If you want to go live on the channel, and I mean this in all honesty, I'm not being facetious here. If you want to go live on the channel, have a Seb special during the week, then you feel free. I'm not even joking. Isn't that right, Tommy?
Let's have a midweek special then, yeah? Let's do a midweek special on Kovalev Ward. Because I'm down. I want to fucking...
What do you say, Tommy? A Seb special on his own?
Story time with Seb, man.
Story time with Seb.
I'll certainly listen to
I'll set up the hangout for you, Seb.
Can we really break down the fight? I don't have to be just me. I want everybody to come on. Break it down with me. I love all of you guys, and I want you all come on, break it down with me.
You tell me when you're free, mate, and I'll come on during the week for a breakdown.
Is that Tommy I'm talking to?
That is, mate, yep.
Yeah, let's do it. All of us, all of us. Let's break it down together.
There you go, guys. We'll do a midweek show. Seb, Tommy's on there. I'll try and jump on if I can, and we'll break down Kovalev 1 to the minutiae, Seb.
Yes, let's do it. Come on, let's do it. Yes.
Anyway, we've got 10 minutes left before we're jacking this in, and congratulations to the Boxing Kingdom. Right, next Friday. Am I right in this, Andy? George Groves is fighting Edward Gut next in the Wembley Arena. Andrew Selby against Jake Bornier, Conrad Cummings, Ronnie Mittag. Yeah, Groves against Gutneck, Andy. Gutneck is decent, not great. It's actually not a bad fight for Groves. I'm going to go on record as saying I'm not displeased with this.
I'm displeased. I'm displeased with the simple fact is if George Groves is going to be like mixing with world title holders and then getting beat and then having to come back and get another world title shot. Gutneck is Euro level, man. I mean, he's nothing great. I would probably Gutneck. He does okay. As I say, he's a decent, competent boxer, but he's nothing great. And Groves, it's absolutely tragic how his career's actually kind of unfolded. Because if you look at it, after that DeGale win, actually, you'd have thought that Groves would have the better career. It just shows you that DeGale, for all intents and purposes, actually turned his career around after that. Actually, because you did think, the way he was conducting himself and that, it was, his career wasn't going to mount to much. Groves, on the other hand, I just think mentally, I don't think he's the same fighter. I could see this I could probably see us going the distance, actually, in all honesty, as well. I don't think it'll be a good fight, and Groves will probably labour. I think he will probably labour to a point decision in this fight. But it's decent. It's nothing great. And if it's an eliminator for a world title, that just again proves the kind of shit state the sport's in just now.
Is this for some bullshit Panamanian, I take it?
I think it is, mate. I think he's trying to line up who is it? Di Carolis. No, not Di Carolis. Who was it? Zauga. Aye, but he's just trying to...
Yeah, he's just trying to get the easiest title, that's the obvious route. It's just bullshit. I think it's a shit fight, to be honest. Groves should win comfortably, and if he doesn't, he should just forget about it, because this guy's, I think he's painfully average, and Groves should be aiming for better than this, in my opinion. But I don't know why he just can't try and get the next fight against the so-called champion anyway next. But yeah, he's going to take this fight, and then he'll fight him and beat him, but he won't be a champion in my eyes. I mean, that Panamanian bout is just, it's garbage, isn't it?
See the thing with Gutnick, right? I quite like him. I thought he was a good fighter back in the day, but I never thought he was a light heavyweight. And he's picked up most of his losses up there at light heavyweight. I think it's super middleweight. That's his weight class. He looks. I'm not sure if he's. In fact, he lost there once to Stieglitz, but he picked up some good wins here, the likes of Ballsy and all that. So I think maybe at super middleweight, he's a better fighter than he is a light heavyweight. That's a decent one. It's a decent one for the Groves, I think.
It's the WBA International Super Middleweight title that's on the line. So yeah, he's trying to manoeuvre his way in through a bullshit belt route.
Yeah, he's if he's going the WBA route, he's definitely going to pick a title up, isn't he?
I have some description.
For those curious, we have an American gold medalist making a debut on the Ward Kovalev undercard, Clarissa Shields.
Who's made? Yeah.
The Czech.
Looking forward to that one, Dave. Anything else on the undercard, actually, you're looking forward to on that? I mean, Chilemba Gvozdik isn't too bad. Curtis Stevens is always in a decent fight, although De La Rosa has no great shakes.
I like Chilemba. I like watching him fight, too. I'm going to watch.
Really?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
I thought he fought well against Kovalev. I liked one of the Bellew fights. The first one was okay.
Dave, just in case you don't get on this midweek show that is being hastily arranged, give us your final picks. I'm going to get them off everybody for the Ward Kovalev fight. Apologies if people have already said. I don't care. I'm going to ask you again. Starting with you, Mr. Hayter.
Kovalev, KO 10.
Okay. Andy?
Ward points.
Yeah, I'm going Ward points as well. Kurt, what about you?
Ward, close points, win where he has to get up off the canvas.
Seb?
I'm going Ward, but there's a caveat there. Can I just talk about, we're going to have a midweek show. Tommy just committed to a midweek show, and even if it's just me and Tommy, we're going to have it out. But can I just talk about this thing? Because there's so many areas in this fight we can break down. I'm just going to talk about one. Just one before we fuck off. But switching and shifting. Now, there's so many... This fight is so interesting. It could be a boring fight, but for a boring fight, it's so fucking interesting to break down that. Ward is a switch hitter. He tends to switch stances in the traditional sense. He's a converted southpaw, a natural lefty who boxes orthodox. But we don't normally see him turn lefty much these days. He used to do it a lot in his earlier professional fights, but not so much now. So it's very unlikely to be a factor for him here, switching stances. But for Kovalev's part, he's not a switch hitter, but he switches stances when he shifts. And speaking of counter-punching opportunities, when Kovalev is shifting, there's an opportunity to counter him as he switches stances. And I think some observers who've really focused in on this technique of shifting since Golovkin blew up. You know, since Golovkin became a big thing on HBO, I think some observers who've really focused in on this technique of shifting, they've romanticized it a little bit as some kind of lost Eastern mystical art. And I'll tell you this, the most fluid and most natural exponent of that art that I can think of in the 21st century, in the last few years, was Dmitry Pirog. He was a really good fighter. He didn't have the strength of Golovkin, but he had fucking really good skills. And Kovalev uses that technique really well himself. But like anything else, like anything in boxing, it's not an infallible technique. It does present a potential opportunity. And if you can use your feet well in reverse, like Andre Ward can, you can make a guy miss on his initial right hand, and then you can counter him off balance as he's switching mid-shift. It's a tricky kind of move, but Ward has the physical and mental capability to pull it off. But he has to be very wary, very, very, very wary of it.
I don't know if this is just the weed, but you actually did say most of this in your previous discussion.
Did I? No, I didn't talk about shifting. I didn't talk about shifting.
Well,
But the one thing is that Ward can counter that. He does have when Kovalev is coming in with the shift, as he can make him miss on that initial right hand, and he can counter him off balance as he's switching mid-shift. It's a tricky kind of move, but Ward does have the physical and mental capability to pull it off, but he has to be wary with it because it's deceptive, and Kovalev is really dangerous when he gets that shit going. But I'll stop it there.
Yeah, if people want to hear more, obviously Seb and Tommy are doing a show during the week, so you'll be able to break it down as much as you want. You'll have the floor, Seb, for the entirety. Tommy, I really want to talk about BT and Box Nation, even if it's very brief at the end of the show. So give us your Ward Kovalev prediction first, please.
Kovalev Q16.
Brave prediction. I would love to see that, Tommy. I can't see it, but I would love to see it. But you'll be able to tell everybody during the week anyway exactly what you think. We've got 5 minutes on the clock here. Kurt, I'm going to you first with this one because this was a question that came in. I don't know who sent it in. Apologies in advance. With the Cold War between Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren seemingly thawing over the past 6 months, albeit slowly, do the panel believe Box Nation's link up with BT will now mean that the uncooperative nature of their relationship will be reignited with neither camp willing to make fights with one another? That's an interesting question, Kurt, actually.
No, in terms of like them working together, I don't think so myself. I think Eddie Hearn has said many times that he wants to deliver the fights for his broadcaster, which is Sky. He won't want the best fights on BT, and that's vice versa. That's with Frank Warren as well. What this new opportunity does is gives Frank now a better platform to make better fights, and now he's got no excuse. We've criticised a lot of his domestic dross. The shows have been absolutely awful. The international content, that's the reason most fans will probably keep Box Nation if they're honest, because the domestic shows for the most part have been terrible. But now he's got really no excuse. He's got a big platform. They're going to be promoting his shows, while the football's on, while the UFC's on. It's such a much larger now base they got. And, Frank Warren, has in the past made good fights, and he can do it when he's had a better stable. So let's hope we'll give him a chance now and see what he can do. I don't think they're going to be able to make on the promise that he's going to do 30 live shows a year. I just don't see how he's going to do that. But, it's got to be better than what it has been. And, domestically, it's got to be better. And maybe a few more fighters will start to sign with him. There's been rumours David Hay joining up with him. That was before BT. Now that's looking obvious. That'd be a massive signing for him. And there's a few others around, Eubank Jr. might go with him, and there's a few other guys who might think of going to the other side, and maybe guys on Matchroom might look at it and of going back to Frank Warren now. But it's better for the sport because he needed that. Box Nation, as good as it is for boxing fans, there's no promoting it. So many people still don't know about it or still don't know where to catch the big fight, and now this is just a massive opportunity for them. Sky have got the benefit of promoting their shows on Sky Sports News during the advert to the football games. Well, BT now, all the Champions League and all the games they've got, they're trying to take over from Sky, and it's a massive statement for Frank to hopefully now take the reins and do a good job.
These 30 shows a year he's planning on doing that. I'm not so sure he's going to do 30 shows a year because he's just not got the talent base and the stable for it. So I wonder maybe if this is going to also include or count these foreign shows that he kind of buys, like Kovalev, like some of the Pacquiao fight last week, for instance. Would that count as towards the 30 number, so to speak? So interesting to see how this is going to pan.
Hopefully, Andy, it'll raise the quality because you said yourself he hasn't got the talent to put the shows, but he would maybe think he has got the stable, and the two things aren't mutually exclusive. That's the problem.
As I said last week, I said during the week there, mate. Just thinking about how Press Pass was so down on Box Nation and that now they can afford better tables, better chairs, better lighting, better sound system, better music, Sweet Caroline and all that sort of shit. So it's all good.
Press Pass. Can I talk about Press Pass?
No.
Oh,
No. Right,
I'll
Tom,
hold it.
talking about all that, about the lighting type of stuff, there's a question from Joey O, which I thought is quite a good one that you might like. He says, can the panel give a list of the things not to copy from Sky? Example, no excessive pole riding of the home fighters. But that's a good question from Joey O, because I think Sky's become a lot more banter-focused lately. Do you not think so, Tommy? They're trying to do the banter, aren't they? We're all mates, and it just looks totally shit. They should go back to the soulless production, I think.
Aye, well, it's fucking... What they should be doing is exactly the opposite of Sky, isn't it? Fuck's sake. So
what? A bit more Bunsey, do you think, then?
No, definitely no more Bunsey, man. Definitely no more Bunsey. What they should be doing is, I'd like to see them get, like, if they're going full hog with BT, I'd like to see them get Paul Dempsey and that to, you know, get him. And I always liked Paul. I think he's good, and stuff like that. And no Sweet Caroline, I didn't like that. I don't like that song.
It's just awkward for the subscribers now, isn't it? What do they do? Do they stay with Box Nation, or do they, if they've got BT, why do they need Box Nation? I think there's more needs to be clarified on that. But Box Nation, if you remember when they first started, they said they'd be doing 2 shows a week. They'd have all the archives of all Frank Warren's fighters over the years. They'd have all documentaries. That's something that they should be making more. I think documentaries is one thing, more like magazine shows as well they could do. But yeah, just more cards, really, more good cards, or at least more competitive cards.
It's quite a hard question to answer, really, because you don't know. But if it's on BT now, what sort of platform is it going to be? Are they still going to hear the stuff like Bunce and that on a Monday night? And
hopefully not.
Well, I'm hoping, Tommy, that they'll follow the same thing that they're doing, but this will actually put more money into the coffers to make better fights, bring in more international fights. I don't think they need to change too much about the output. I know we all laugh about Bunsey. I don't think that needs to change. I think they just want a bit more money to try and get that extra fight. You know, maybe that Ward Kovalev that might be able to outbid Sky. Yep. Those type of things, hopefully this will help.
Aye. Well, so I was going to make a point.
What you really want to see too is more competition for Eddie here, and obviously the competition, in my opinion, is healthy.
Yeah, and it's going to be the same audience that Sky target. Now, you know, Frank Warren and BT will target, which is the football crowd. And when there's a match on at half time, if they can promote what they got on, you know, the boxing later on or a show afterwards, you know, it's going to be so much better for them. They just can't do that at the moment.
Yeah, I think people were basically asking questions, you know, if you subscribe to Box Nation, does that automatically give you access to BT? So obviously there's a lot of questions still need to be answered here that the owners need to clarify, basically.
Yeah. I think they're being inundated with questions. Final 2 questions here, actually, before we jack it, guys. We're running a bit long, but who cares? Final 2 questions, both from Lee at Numb Tapestry. Dave Lowback, I know you haven't got a horse in the race as far as Box Nation's concerned, but I'm going to ask you this one anyway. Is Frank Warren getting a deal with BT a good thing, as he is clearly on the decline as a promoter? We can't deny that, Dave.
I assume he means a good thing for boxing, and I would say yes, because it widens the market for boxing, and Frank's got some fighters who aren't fighting, and hopefully this will lead to marketing the fights will get more tickets sold, which will lead to less cancellation of shows, and maybe we'll actually see Billy Joe Saunders fight again in our lifetime.
Maybe we will, Kurt. The other side of the coin from Lee. Again, this is a good question. I like this one. He says, could this damage the sport long term if a big company invests heavily, then sees no return? If BT Sport put all this money in and they see Frank putting on a show in front of 500 people in Cardiff Leisure Centre, Bradley Skeet against a pole, could this actually be detrimental to the health of the sport? I see where Lee's going there, Kurt.
Well, yeah, but you'd hope that that's not what he's going to do. He's going to look at what Sky have done and seen the success. And even though he wants to do his own thing, I mean, the guy's been in the business for so long now. He knows, you know, he's got to change it. But, you know, I've mocked Warren a lot. We've always had laughs at him and stuff. But you got to look at it in another way as well. You look at some of the best promoters in the world, or look at someone like Eddie Hearn. How well would he have done with Box Nation with a much limited budget, no advertising, no promotion like Sky got? It's a tougher ask. You know, if Warren was on there, remember before Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren was doing exactly what Eddie Hearn's doing, putting on big shows, putting on pay-per-views. He was the number one. Now all of a sudden Eddie Hearn's about and he's got kicked off Sky. And everyone's saying, you know, Warren's useless. But, you know, it's a lot easier when you've got a big platform behind you, you know, pushing you all the time. You know, look at some of the promotions that the promoters that have been doing well on HBO. They've been doing some poor shows, but because they've got such big backing, they can make it at least get more hype. So hopefully Warren will will see sense. He's got his sons around, so maybe they're more in tune with the modern era boxing. I hope, but who knows?
I think that's the time to end it. Andy, you can penguin shuffle to the toilet while I'm.
Sorry, mate. I was with my dinner before I came on the show there, actually, so it's just kind of bubbling away a wee bit. It was a good one.
Swan's not going to be happy with you, Andy.
Smells like poo.
Right, that was the impressions of Dave Loback. You heard there, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for Dave, the official voice of American boxing, as always, for jumping on. We've had a good show. We've lasted 2 hours, 40 minutes. I enjoyed it tonight. Love us or hate us, you stuck with us, guys.
Can I just say, Steve, if I've got my names wrong at any point tonight, I think I've always corrected it. But I'm just a little bit, just to qualify my position, I've been a little bit high. But I think I've given some good, like when I got the opportunity on a couple of occasions. I think we've gotten to the. Donnie asked me to come on to give Donnie was like, come on, because we need you to give a technical aspect to the thing. So that's what I've been trying to do. I've been trying to deliver what Donnie's asking me to. But if you guys think I'm off point, tell me. But let's do a midweek show on the Kovalev World, because this is a big fight, guys. Let's do a midweek show.
Yeah, there's going to be
you got to be sober for it.
I will be sober. But to be fair, when we've actually got to Kovalev Ward, I've been all right, haven't I?
Yeah,
there's going to be a midweek. Listen, guys, there's going to be a midweek show. Yeah, there's going to be a midweek show, Seb. Hold on a minute. There's going to be a midweek show. If you have any questions or comments, send them to @TomBoxingAsylum or Seb. You're at SPC1310, yeah?
Yeah.
Yep. Send your questions into Seb or Tommy, and they will answer them during the midweek show. So thank you.
If you wish.
Yes, if you wish, there will be. So jump in for that with Seb and Tommy. Right, I'm going to have to jack this in, guys. It's come to a point where it's just going to have to end. Andy Patterson, thank you very much for coming on the show. The Guru's left the chat already. You can hear from him during the week. Thanks to Seb as well. Thanks to Mr. Kurt Ward. Also, Smido was on the call earlier. He's dropped off. Donny as well. Amir Khan was on briefly as well. Thanks to Amir for coming on. And if I've forgotten anybody, I do apologise. We shall speak to you all next week or in the midweek show. Dave, Tommy, and Seb. Thank you. Bye.